Welcome back to the Hearthstone Global Games. You may have forgotten who we are in the last 3-hour series. This is Derek Brown, my name is Falcone, and we are back with Chile versus Spain coming up next. Let's take a look at the bracket and see how this group is doing.
Yep, still hanging out with Group A here right up at the top after Brazil taking their first loss here at the Global Games to Portugal. I'm sure we'll be very happy indeed. And now moving away from the Portuguese-speaking countries to the Spanish-speaking countries. Chile up against Spain. This is looking to be a little bit of a closer one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a big surprise to me that Brazil lost that last series, especially in a 3-0 scenario, not because of the way that the decks were lined up against each other, but because Brazil went undefeated in the Swiss, and to lose to a team like Portugal, who maybe I'm underrating a little bit here, but they're not like the most well-known Hearthstone team. It's just a bit of a surprise to me.
It's a little bit surprising, I think is fair, but not that unexpected. But interview with Dr. Boom, like he's been around forever in Hearthstone.
Yeah, it was GVG actually.
Yeah, respectable results at least. And I think they are still a good contender. But here, Chile up against Spain, which we are going to be taking a look at the players from these teams just now. I think this one, in my opinion, in terms of the competitive pedigree of the teams, I would definitely put Spain ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, AKA Wonder and Delsum are the big names that jump out to me, but Riku97 and Jacob have been putting in the work as well. I mean, just earlier today, I actually played against Jacob on ladder, so he's been doing the work, doing the grind, practicing. Aggro, toggwaggle, Machine, and Tempo for Chile, 4 names that aren't as well known to me at all. Is there any big ones that you want to point out?
Well, you know, we've had the pleasure of casting Machine at, I believe it was the second Copa America, which Muzzy won, where he had a decent result. Getting through to the top 16 in its own right was quite an impressive feat. Unfortunately, not getting through to the top 8 there. Topo Pablo is kind of a player that you just see all over in Twitch chats and in competitive play as well. I believe he's had a run in one of the Copas as well at some point. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is that Chile, while they are not the most recognized or renowned of teams, they've still got that tournament experience.
But as you said a moment ago, this is looking like it should be a pretty evenly matched series. We've very sneakily already seen the picks and bans, but now we're ready to show you what we've got coming up. Firstly, banned Paladin for Spain's side. Another one that's not regularly the first ban. That was Odd Paladin. Yeah, the Odd Paladin, it's nothing too fancy, whereas the Quest Rogue being banned from Chile makes an awful lot of sense because Spain have a fairly slow and controlling lineup. Yeah, and as we continue going down, you see that Hunter, Druid and Warrior were picked up straight away by Spain. So it's not like they were going for an aggressive strategy in their picks and bans. I wonder what it is that caused Chile to want to get rid of that Paladin straight away. Well, it is one of the best anti-aggro decks in Hearthstone. It's still fairly aggressive in its own right. And while it's maybe not quite so good against Odd Warrior, the other benefit that Odd Paladin has, while it is decent against the aggressive decks, is it also has a pretty good shot against the control decks, or the anti-control decks, I should say, like against the Deathrattle Hunter, the Quest Rogue. You're in a respectable spot as the Odd Paladin. Now for the fun part, though, let's see how these decks have fallen into place. What plays what? Well, first, it's Aggro on the, I don't know what we've agreed to call this deck. Maybe cloning deck? Big Priest even? I don't know. We can't call it Big Priest. That's way too confusing. Yeah, no, I agree with that. But anyway, it's Aggro on the Priest and AKA Wonder on the Quest Rogue. And I guess we should fill you in a little bit about this Priest list. You can type !deck lists to take a look at it for yourself. But it's been around for a few weeks now. I've played maybe 20 or so games of it, so I've sort of got the gist of it. You've got all of the big minions, the big priest minions, with some little priest minions as well, but the idea is you've got Malagos, you've got Velen, you've got Cloning Device to vomit your deck onto your board and then win with some Mind Blasts. Yeah, this, in all honesty here, is a deck that I thought was a little bit of a meme deck. We're still in the mid-season of this season of Ladder. So I thought people were just saying, you know, I want to have a bit of fun before I have to go for a big finish at the end of the month. So let's play this pretty wacky, crazy priest deck that can do some pretty disgusting combos. But clearly here for Chile, they are thinking it's going to be getting them through to the Global Games Finals. So when I first saw Xerx's Cloning Device, my first thought was, well, this is probably pretty bad. If you play it in a combo deck and you draw your combo pieces, you just lose. Well, the Priest Spellstone sort of saves you there because Depending on the matchup, the Priest often does have time to play the minions. Like, you know, plays Lyra on the board on turn 5, plays Velen on 7, etc., etc. And then later on, after they die, you play the Spellstone, you get them all back, and then you Mind Blast your opponent in the face.
And also, the deck is kind of so confused, I find, in what it's trying to actually do, that almost works in its advantage, because if you draw Velen first and Malagos, you can still go for Xeric's Cloning Gallery and hit Lyra with 2 Radiants, or Lyra with a Radiant and whatever else. Like, you can get a lot of good stuff going on, even if you draw some of those combo priests.
Yeah.
Because it functions in multiple different ways.
And I have to admit, personally speaking, I found more wins by playing Cloning Device, getting Lyra and double Radiant, than I found with the Velen combo, because Lyra just goes off with 2 Radiants on the board. And don't forget, you can then Eternal Servitude get a 3rd or something. She just doesn't stop doing the things.
However, I would definitely expect for Angostar to be in a little bit of a miserable situation here. The Quest Rogue is traditionally fantastic against any kind of control deck, doesn't really matter which. You just need to make sure that you're not dying to any kind of early board aggression or perhaps Mind Blast nonsense, which could happen. It can happen that you just get like turn 9 lethal, where you go Xeric's Cloning Gallery, coin Mind Blast, and you win the game.
And that's the thing. It's kind of weird. I mean, there's also the fact that Angristar is not really going to be putting anything on the board early, so the whole Sonya, Salty Deckhand shenanigans might be kind of hard to pull off for AKA Wonder.
And maybe that's why he's considering, or sorry, why he kept the Brewmaster here, which is not a card, to be honest, I often keep. As the Quest Rogue, I like to dig a little bit more heavily for cards like Sonya, like Vanish, like a card you actually want to bounce, like in the aggro matchups, Glacial Shard. But this is not an aggro matchup. This is one you want to be taking nice and slow. So Brewmaster is decent because you could get a little bit of the bounce effect going to try and complete the quest. But I would have anticipated Akamanda to go for Sonya and draw cards a little bit more heavily.
On a slightly different note... Oh, there you go.
There you go.
On a slightly different note there, Derek. Be alert, because I'm a little bit concerned about what the production team are going to do with AKA Wonder's green screen today.
Oh yeah, I'll have my eyes on the prize. And having Sonya in hand is always what you're looking for in this deck, because it's changed a little bit over the years with Quest Rogue, because originally the absolute best card you could get in the mulligan was Shadow Step. When you only had 4 cards, you only had to play 4 cards of the same name. You drew one of them, you had Shadow Step, you were probably just going to win in a very, very timely fashion and smoke them down with boars and fireflies, igneous elementals back in the day. But now, a lot of the time, the game plan is just delay. You stall out, you buy yourself time, then you go for Sonya, charge or rush in a minion 5 times, then you prep the old quest.
Oh, well, speaking of Shadow Steps being a good card, though...
Yeah, that is not half bad.
There you go. Now, what is very often the case nowadays, though, is Sonya and then Shadow Step it as soon as possible so that you can prepare for the deckhands trading in. You play Sonya for 1 mana after and complete the quest very quickly. But against this deck, is that actually going to work?
I think whatever Akawanda wants to be doing here, it involves being a little bit quicker than you might be against some control decks. Because against the likes of Odd Warrior, you want to be as highly value-oriented as you possibly can. You pretty much hard mulligan for Valera, and then just try and get as much value as possible. Whereas this matchup, like we've been saying, you can just die to Mind Blasts and stuff. So whatever his game plan may be, it needs to be fairly quick, I think.
There's just... Again, because Anguistar's not really going to be putting stuff on the board, or may not be putting stuff on the board, there is obviously the scenario in which he does play lots of minions. Is it Shadow Essence that can be played on turn 6, can make a 5/5, which could then be traded into by the Scalehide. So I guess there is a way in which that happens, but Akawanda gonna go with the Glacial Shard bouncers instead.
Yeah, only 1 activation away from completing the quest as it currently stands, I believe.
Well, that is a good sign. Shadow Step from Mimic Pod is still just the nuts.
And there are obviously a lot of benefits to saving Sonya until after the quest is completed, if you can afford to. Because then all of a sudden, as soon as they play a big board, maybe with a Malagos and a Prophet Velen after they go for Spellstone, then you can just go Sonya into Vicious Scalehide, charge into it like 5-6 times, and you are just pretty easily going to be able to clear up the whole board and heal way out of range of anything. Well, I say heal out of range of anything. You can do pretty disgusting amounts of damage with this deck with the Mind Blasts.
Yeah, I mean, one Velen, one Malagos, and one Mind Blast is already 20 damage, and it is quite possible to get either 2 Velen, 1 Mali, or 2 Mali, 1 Velen.
Angustar even saying he wants this Gargoyle to be dying so much that he will Power Wedge Shield his opponent's minion. So any development on the board by Akawanda does equal Chile being able to kill off their own Gilded Gargoyle.
And again, silly as it sounds, as long as the Gargoyle has 2 health, Sonya plus Deckhand or Sonya plus Boar is only going to be able to cycle so many times. If that Gargoyle had 4 health, then Spain would be able to play 5 of them at once. But there we go. There is the final Glacial Shard needed. AKA Wonder will be completing the quest very shortly, and he does have the prep to do it with as well.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see the Shadow Step on the Zola here, because then next turn it would be Shard, 1 mana Zola, Shard, which is 3 mana, prep quest, 1 mana left over. Yeah, it was worth considering, I guess, there, but this way you actually have more stuff on the board, which means your opponent has to answer it, which they probably can't do, and if they don't, you complete the quest, hit them for a bunch of damage. This I like a lot. It's slightly lower value, but it is much higher tempo, which, like I said, they want to be winning quickly. They don't want to go for value, they want to go for tempo.
So now Ingristar is in a pretty interesting position, because in many matchups, I would say double Spellstone is great to have. That's like a guaranteed win after the cloning device has been played. However, the rest of his hand isn't quite shaping up. The 1 Radiant Elemental is not the end of the world, because now on turn 10 he can go Radiant cloning device and then go off with Lyra. But he just doesn't really have anything to do in the meantime.
He does not. This is not the hand you're looking for. I think he really just wanted to find, Shadow Essence as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So he could start smorking his opponent down, resurrecting Malagoses or Prophet Velens. Oh, sorry, Malagis or Prophet Velens.
Ah, that's better.
But that is very clearly not going to be happening. Coin Prophet Velen is really the best that is available to Angustar, which Akawanda, I would imagine, can just quite happily ignore or go Sonya into Deckhand, whilst all the while pushing an awful lot of damage through to face.
Yeah, well, I mean, quest is complete now, so if Spain wants to, he can just value trade everything. Prep isn't even required.
That's true.
And I guess he could hold it back for a Spellstone or for Zerg's cloning device.
Wait, the prep, do you mean?
Sorry,
for
sorry,
Vanish.
the prep for a Vanish for that board.
I
missed a step there, my bad.
Yeah. I was going to say, what kind of a funky quest rogue deck is he running here?
Okay, playing it now, I guess allows him to dagger up or play the deckhand if he really wants to push damage.
Yeah, I think I like saving it because he wants to go Sonya into deckhand on a later turn.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's not like the prep is useless from here on in. If he can find Fan of Knives or taking a look at the deck list, he's only got 1 Mimic Pod, so yeah, it's basically Fan and Vanish that he's saving it for now.
Smite just isn't doing anything for Angristar, and he can't even sacrifice the Gilded Gargoyle to get the coin to do something like coin Velen, coin Holy Smite.
Yeah, he could Holy Smite his own Gargoyle for a completely pointless venture. I suppose that does actually kill the Gargoyle, so it's resurrected with the Spellstone then.
Great.
But yeah, that feels pretty dumb.
Yeah, then he can use the coin he got from the Gargoyle and his other coin to play the Spellstone this turn.
Wow.
And he's getting back the Gargoyle and the Radiant Elemental. This is just not what this deck is supposed to do.
It is not, and I think after I'm sure much deliberation from Anglerstar with the rest of his teammates. They just decide Prophet Velen is the biggest thing we can put on the board. We kind of have to go for it, but oh my goodness, with the pickup of Minstrel off the top for Akawanda, it's looking like he is not even going to be close to running out of steam anytime soon.
I mean, Spain can just drop Sonya, put whatever he wants to put back into his hand, probably Zola, actually.
Yeah, and the Glacial Shard, just refreeze that Gargoyle again.
Right, yeah, so play Sonya, trade in Zola and a Shard, replay the Shard, freeze the 2-2, and yeah, it would mean he can't fit in the Elven Minstrel this turn, which maybe is worth playing. The good news for Anglerstar is now that he has played Velen, it means it's now in the Priest Dead pool, or will be when it gets killed off.
The what, sorry?
The Priest Dead pool? I don't know.
No, I like that name.
Come, try your luck.
Yeah, going to be sacrificing off the Glacial Shard. This is a pretty trolly play, but we've seen some pretty trolly Glacial Shards today up against the Netherlands in particular, where it's stopped them from being able to go for the OTK for a turn.
Yeah, this has just been very well played by AKA Wonder and very poorly, I guess, drawn by Anglerstar. But then again, what is it he's been looking for? He does want 2 copies of Shadow Essence. Like,
what does this deck do, though? Like, it's done nothing this whole game. Its entire hand has been absolute nothing.
yeah.
And now he can go Spirit Lash, heal up for, what, 6-12?
If he had the coin from this Gargoyle, he could go Lesser Spellstone and then coin Spirit Lash because there'd be Radiant Elemental and Velen. And it would heal him up to 30.
Sorry, he could go Spellstone, which summons back the Radiant Elemental and the Velen, Holy Smite his own Gargoyle, then coin Spirit Lash.
Derek, you're a genius.
I guess that's maybe the best he's got.
That is such a good play. Oh my goodness. Well, it's not.
Is it though?
It heals him to 30, but doesn't really get him any further.
Yeah.
I guess he is going to go with the double Spirit Lash, which feels bad. He'd like to use them with Velen. At least it kills off the Gargoyle.
Yeah.
That darn thing.
It means he's not dead, which is more than some plays would afford him. And this way he can get back all 3 minions. It does mean he's used up a Spirit Lash. Maybe it was better to go for it my way. He then gives his opponent another... he would have given him another Scale Hide off of Sonya, which is obviously bad.
But then the following turn, Anglerstar could play the second Spellstone, play the second Spirit Lash,
Yeah.
probably clear the board. I think your play was great.
Thanks. And he might have even been dead. I wasn't even counting lethal with my play, but I'm sure they considered it at least. They have played this deck an awful lot more than I have. Dare I say, an infinite more times than I have.
Well, your play actually healed them to 30, though. That's the thing.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, because of the way
yeah,
Velen
yeah,
interacts with
yeah,
Spirit
you're
Lash, like it deals 2 damage to each minion, which heals you for 4 per
24,
minion.
yeah, maybe it was better.
But AKA Wonder certainly in the driving seat now this game.
Most assuredly.
Anglerstar's going to need a Psychic Scream, I guess.
Yeah, Scream's pretty much all he's got left, I think. He could go Diamond Spellstone. Oh no, even if he gets Spirit Echoes off the top, he can't Spirit Echoes. Sorry, not Spirit Echoes. Shadow Visions. Even if he couldn't then go Shadow Visions into the Spirit Lash again.
I think he's used both of them.
Yeah, exactly. So he couldn't get another Spirit Lash, and Spirit Lash is the best card he could have here. But he used both of them.
Well, there you go.
And that's going to be it.
Well, that's not going to have changed your opinion about this deck now, is it? As AKA Wonder, he doesn't look too impressed with his opponents right now.
Yeah, that was just nothing too flashy from the Quest Rogue. Knowing Akawanda, he was probably hoping for a more explosive game on the Cloning Priest side, even if it ended up in them maybe not taking a loss, but it being a little bit closer. That's kind of why the Cloning Gallery Priest exists, because it gives explosive moments that you can post on your Twitter. It's not really, in my opinion, made to win games of Hearthstone.
Well, that was a pretty quick game, don't you think, Derek?
It was indeed.
Do you know what's not going to be a quick game?
Please elucidate.
The next one, let's take a look. You've guessed it, it's going to be an Odd Warrior Mirror. It's Machine versus Jacob. However, there is a slight twist here. They are both sort of regular Odd Warriors, but Machines is a little bit more aggressive than standard.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting decisions that I haven't actually seen in the Odd Warrior before.
Yeah, so we're not talking frothing berserker here.
Yeah, we all remember Purple's infamous turn 5 lethal with Odd Warrior against Questro, which was one of my favourite moments we've seen in a long while in Hearthstone. This one, however, I believe is running the Beryllium Nullifiers and War Gears as well. So going with a little bit heavier on the mech package, the magnetic synergies as well. Which does mean the benefit of this strategy is they can go for more aggressive strategies, try and win the game through damage in the mid to late game, because Beryllium Nullifier is a real pain for Odd Warrior to deal with. The downside of this strategy, though, is they had to cut 2 Direhorn Hatchlings in order to fit in these extra mechs, so they are effectively 2 cards behind in the fatigue game plan.
So they're not winning the fatigue game plan.
Very unlikely.
Unless there are some crazy Elises, which we have seen some of here in the Hearthstone Global Games. But yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the players have been saying about the Odd Warrior Mirror type matchups that while it seems as though it might just be about fatigue, sometimes if one player does get a board presence and the other one can't deal with it, that will lead to the game being won.
And I think that's what we saw from the USA in an Odd Warrior Mirror. I believe it was in the final week of the group stages, week 6 of the Global Games, where they were playing out their guys. They were going for fatigue, but they weren't going for it too heavily. They weren't going for stuff like shield slamming their own Direhorn Hatchlings so that they can't be silenced and crazy stuff like that. They were playing quickly for tempo, throwing out their minions as quickly as they could to try and make a nice wide board that their opposing Odd Warrior couldn't deal with. Because the amount of removal in an Odd Warrior is not actually that high.
Yeah.
If you throw down 1 minion at a time, or 2 very high health minions, Super Collider becomes a lot less valuable. Reckless Flurry cannot be used for most of the game because the armor totals will be so ludicrously high.
There's like 1 or 2 specific turns, and that's it. That's your chance. That's your window. It's either early or late.
Yeah, you don't have a whole bunch of choice with that. So it can be that you can stick a wide board, or just, I should say, less stick a wide board. Meter out your threats every single turn. You've got something, so you're threatening them, making sure they have an answer, or you'll slowly chip away at their health, and eventually you'll have eroded their armor total so much that if it does come down to fatigue, which it probably will, then you'll be pretty firmly in the lead.
So Warriors, get discovering your Mechathoons, get discovering your Bulldozers, and hey, maybe Beryllium Nullifier will make all of the difference. Once the Brawls are gone, although I guess the strategy against Beryllium Nullifier is don't waste the Brawls, save them for the Nullifier. It's kind of complicated.
It does get real complicated real quick, and then you need to be considering if you're against a deck that runs Beryllium Nullifiers, you don't need to save your Owls for Direhorns. You can use it to just silence away the untargetable effect. So maybe that's what Jacob is going to be saving his silence effects for.
The War Machine, though, sorry, the War Gear, just for the extra burst damage or the surprise value trades, I think will make quite a big impact. And also the extra benefit of, and this is a very slight benefit, of War Gear over the Direhorn Hatchlings, is that if you have a War Gear on the board, then your Dynamatic won't be dealing damage to it. If you have a Direhorn Hatchling, it will be.
And these are all things that help Chile to go for that game plan that we've been talking about, where you go for a more minion-focused game plan. You try and play more aggressively and tempo your opponent out the game. It's not like those are 2 discrete game plans, like you have to go purely for fatigue or purely for aggression. They usually weave into each other, where the game plan is you get minions on the board to lower your opponent's armor total, so when it inevitably does come to fatigue, you win in fatigue. So for Machine, it's going to be a delicate balance as to how he gets enough damage through early on to the point where it makes up for the fact where he's 2 cards behind on fatigue.
None will survive.
Even Eternian Rover isn't that common in Odd Warrior nowadays.
Yeah, definitely being phased out.
This does seem more like an... This doesn't seem like a list that's supposed to be fighting against these heavy control decks.
Also worth pointing out, actually, though, that Chile does have double Faceless Manipulator in that Odd Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that equals 2 Direhorn Hatchlings if Jacob leaves them up. I don't know. It could happen,
But that's
where
it
they
gets
equalize
interesting,
the card total.
because then it means Spain, knowing that, will be inclined to shield slam their own Direhorn Hatchlings. But that's when we were told in the past, you shouldn't be shield slamming your own minions in this sort of matchup because you need to have a board. Oh, my head hurts already, and it's only turn 2.
Yeah. And just in case, for those of you who haven't been keeping up, maybe you are wondering exactly what we're talking about. This matchup is about not drawing any cards, and it is about going for the fatigue game plan, is the general theory.
See the number on the right? It's important. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah. So cards like Shield Block, which is pretty much one of the very few card draw effects in this deck, will just not be played, I would imagine. And, wow, Chile are actually just not playing Shield Block at all.
Well, that is...
Which is another point in their favor, because that's 2 cards that they can just play. They are also running Town Crier, which is 2 cards that they just cannot play if they want to go for the fatigue plan. Maybe, however, Chile will have thought through this strategy, and they will happily draw cards, because they want to just win in the mid-game.
Curiously, neither team is playing Azalina either. And that's a card that can make a very big difference in this type of matchup. Especially in the silly games where both players draw it and then play it, and it never goes. Never goes away.
So we do see this sometimes in the early turns with Odd Warrior Mirrors, where you wonder, do I play minions at all, or do I just armor up every single turn of the game to try and maximize that armor total? And I believe usually the conclusion that has come to is that you want to be playing out your minions. You know, you don't want to be taking chip damage from your opponent's minions, and getting stuff on the board is usually a little bit more valuable because, you know, you do want to be using up cards from your hand. You don't have infinite hand space.
In the context of this series, this game is pretty important though, because Spain, and I'm looking at the rest of the matches coming up, Spain have 2 unfavorables coming up and 1 other 50-50 type matchup. So if Spain lose this, there is definitely a strong possibility that Chile then win the 2 following games. So don't expect the teams to be rushing this one.
Yeah, we did put Chile ever so slightly ahead when taking a look at the matchups just before the game began. This is where also all of you Na'Vi subs can feel very smug in the fact that you have Na'Vi Tank Up, one of the strongest emotes on Twitch.
Yeah, and those of you that have been cheering and have the Leroy emote, you're not going to be using that here.
Yeah, you can cry. You can also spam the Concede emote if you want to. I doubt it will have much effect on these players, but you're welcome to give it a go.
Maybe in about an hour and a half, it might work. No, it won't go on that long. We're not beating the record set by the last series anytime soon for game length.
If you're spamming the Talkstone emote, then I say, very funny. Unfortunately, looks like we're having a little bit of a spectator issue around the Discover effects. But the first one's Cornered Sentry. It's probably not the, well, I mean, it's definitely not the ideal target off of the Stonehill, because the ideal target is that bad boy right there.
So I was just about to say, we don't know what the options are, but it's taking them a really long time to choose, so there can't be a Diehorn Hatchling.
Yeah, I wonder what else could have been presented that was worth considering.
What's better than Diehorn Hatchling in this match?
Not much, yeah.
So that's potentially an extra card ahead in Fatigue Jacob can get.
Which currently puts Jacob 3 cards ahead in Fatigue.
Is that the correct way of saying it, Derek? I always get confused.
Or 3 cards behind in Fatigue. The point is he has 3 more cards in his deck.
Because it sounds wrong, because ahead in Fatigue, you'd think that sounds like they're winning, but they're not. And I don't know.
Yeah, well, he is winning by 3 cards in the Fatigue race.
We'll go with that one.
The Fatigue endgame.
So, there's no removal for that, Darius. Apart from Brawl.
Nothing as of yet, which definitely does play into the game plan of what Chile is going for, at least for the moment, where, who knows, maybe we see the Darius into Faceless Manipulator, and then you really start smacking your opponent all about the head.
And that's the thing, if Jacob plays another Taunt Minion this turn, Machine can trade the Darius first, it gets the buff, then he plays Faceless, and then this already buffed up Darius still has Rush and can buff itself again.
And I remember seeing this situation before. I believe it was at DreamHack Tour in the game where Chinoise was eliminated, where he had Control Warrior up against Control Warlock with Rin. He had no chance of winning. I think it might have even been Odd Warrior.
I'm almost certain I was casting that one with you, actually.
Really? I think I was watching in the crowd.
Oh, in that case, I was casting with someone else.
but he had to get two giant Dariuses to even have a chance, and he came surprisingly close, got his opponent down to a very low health total, but then inevitably did lose and was eliminated. And I would imagine that Chile and Machine will be ending up in a somewhat similar situation where they will try to get this done with the Darius, but it will inevitably fail.
Well, the trade-off now is play the Faceless, get this powerful turn, or don't play the Faceless and save it for a Diehorn hatchling later. And it's not an easy decision.
It's not. So what's the best case scenario if he does copy the Darius? Because I think expecting to win the game off of copying this Darius is very optimistic indeed.
Okay, so he trades the Darius. It becomes an 8-6. He facelesses it.
He trades with that one.
And that becomes a 10-5?
Okay.
And if it can't be dealt with, then that's a lot of damage going face next turn.
Yeah, you do have the 1-3 in the middle to protect around the potential of a Super Collider.
Alright, okay, this is probably the more sensible play. Still gets a powerful board. Not quite as powerful as the one we were describing, but it's tricky to deal with apart from with Super Collider.
Yeah, this board is significantly weaker to Super Collider, is the real downside of that play. Whereas if they had gone for Faceless, there would still have been that 1-3 in the middle.
So it would have had
mighty annoying.
It would have had to have been a brawl if the Faceless was played.
Yes, or a Reckless Flurry, although we obviously can see that isn't there.
Yeah.
Just thinking about what will have been going through Chile's head as they tried to get this done. And this is just clearly, to me at least, setting the assumption from Chile that they think if this does go to Fatigue, they're in with a shot. If they save this Faceless Manipulator, they will be able to copy a Direhorn and maybe win in Fatigue at the end game. I'm not necessarily sure if that is a correct assumption. They still did do a big chunk of damage, which is worth saying.
I keep looking at Jacob's webcam and seeing the Hearthstone logo in the background, and it's like a weird optical illusion.
Why?
Seeing, I don't like. It sort of looks like the right-hand side of the screen is the like Hearthstone opening game screen, but like chopped in half. Am I crazy? I might be crazy.
Well, yes, but that is an issue for another time. Jacob also, although I didn't know it myself, it seems like he's a fairly popular Spanish language streamer. He's always pretty high up on the Twitch page whenever I'm looking about for some dudes to chill out with, some streamers to watch.
Do you speak Spanish?
I do not speak Spanish. My mum was always trying to get us, the Brown family children, to speak Spanish with her, but we would not humour her at all.
Oh. I think another language is hard.
It is very hard, yeah. It is always depressing going to any kind of LAN and being one of the few English people there, and everyone else is speaking English and their native language, and you're just there like, oh, no hablo despacito, por favor.
That was one of the first astonishing things for me when I went to an event, though, is the fact that everyone there. So we were in Germany. I was with nobody else that was from England. So everyone else was from a country that speaks a different language, and yet everyone was speaking English to each other. And that's just crazy to me.
It's almost like our educational system is somewhat flawed.
Blame the USA as well.
It's a good default, I find. While Chile were clearly making a big gambit to try and win the board in the mid-game, Spain are now starting to win that back in their own right. They have the big minions at the moment. They have the Faceless to copy their big minions, and still they are going to be way ahead when it does inevitably come down to Fatigue later on. This
is one of those awkward boards that actually Machine's going to struggle to deal with. Dynamatic would be dealing 5 damage to the Baku. And then I guess he could rush it into the Baku, so it's not so bad. He can at least remove that consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, his turn here isn't looking great.
Yeah, you can't go Dynamatic Super Collider, which is really annoying. That would be a perfect way to clear off both of these guys.
And he may not be running shield blocks, but he is running 2 copies of Town Crier, both sitting in his hand. Again, unplayable, while the fatigue game is even something that Machine is thinking about. Until he's drawn every other rush minion, and then he can play a 1-mana 1/2. Oh my god, okay, well, that's even the odds a bit now.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for Spain because I've heard, this was a little while ago, so maybe people have mathsed out this matchup a little bit better, but people saying they're not necessarily sure it's best to play Dr. Boom as quick as you possibly can, especially I would imagine while you are definitely ahead in the fatigue race, because that armor can be really useful. But if your opponent plays Dr. Boom, I kind of feel like at that point it's a bit of an arms race and you have to play it. Or they will outvalue you.
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because, I mean, if you look at the hero powers, obviously 7 armor is better than 4 armor, but you only get that once every 5 turns on average. The 3 microbots can do some work against the board, or even if they just end up sitting on the board, they can be dealing damage to the opponent. That sort of evens out the armor. The Discover a mech is obviously the premium hero power in this matchup.
And this is the bad one. You want to roll Kaboom as few times as you possibly can in this matchup, because it just does so much less than all the others.
Yeah. At least it allows the Baku to make the trade. And there we go. 2 discoveries incoming.
So the premium mechs to be discovering, I would imagine, are Beryllium Nullifier.
Okay.
Weaponized Pinata is also not bad at all.
Security Rover is pretty good too. Not so much in this matchup though. I agree with you that Weaponized Pinata is the way to go here. I also think that Super Collider is looking pretty great this turn. Just a very easy way of dealing with what could have been an irritating board.
Alright, if you can correctly guess the legendary that comes off Weaponized Pinata,
here we go again.
I will give you 10 British pounds sterling.
Wow.
Cold hard cash.
Never had that much money before.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Prepare.
I'm going to think really hard about this. It can only be minions, can't it? It can't be legendary
spells. It can only be
spells.
minions.
It can't be...
Oh yeah, I think so. I hadn't actually thought about that. Pretty sure, yeah.
That does narrow it down. It's only going to be standard minions. That's something. Okay. Earlier on, right, we've seen it get Rin, so it won't be Rin.
Then.
That's not how it works,
not how
but still,
stuff works.
I'm just going to... I don't know. I'm just going to...
That's not how statistics work at all.
I'm going with it, okay?
Okay.
It's going to be... Luna.
Ooh, good guess, good guess. I'm guessing it's going to be... Nat Pagel. I'm going miserable.
Wow.
I'm going worst case scenario.
Wouldn't worst case scenario be that minion that stealths itself and summons a copy of the next card you're...
Oh, Celestia Harbinger. Harbinger Celestia, yeah.
Literally never seen that card played, ever.
Me neither. I think it was on the list of least played Boomsday cards when I saw that. Or maybe it was lowest win rate when played Boomsday cards. Either way, don't play Harbinger Celestia. It's not very good. And here it is. Moment of truth. Will it be Pagel?
We're not going to find out, are we? We're not going to find out this turn.
Yeah. But it's coming down.
Or any of the other many legendaries currently in standard.
Well, you know, 1 out of 3 outcomes, I guess. It's somewhat interesting that Spain do end up taking the missile launcher instead of the Dynamatic. I suppose the 2 main reasons being Dynamatic probably won't hit too much from here on in.
Yep.
Again, most of Machine's minions, I imagine, will be mechs, especially as he hit Discover a mech again 1 turn after, or 2 turns after getting it the previous time. And also, magnetizing mechs is just good at this point.
Yep.
Making a big old mech that you can hit your opponent with, maybe if you stick it onto a mech that's already on board.
Here we go.
Ah.
Never mind.
Can Grumble do anything? Can you go... If you go Elise and Elise doesn't die,
Oh my goodness.
then you can Grumble it back?
Wait. Is there any sort of Grumble Zola thing that can happen?
Like what?
Okay.
You go
Well, you can play Grumble and then
Zola, Grumble, Zola your Grumble, and then you have a Grumble and no Zola. I would have to imagine that Beryllium Nullifier is the pick here, which Chile do end up going for. It is not only the biggest of mechs available to them on that Discover, but also it's just one of the best. The untargetable effect just continues to prove how devastating it is in this matchup.
I mean, it just can't be dealt with easily here. There is a combination of minions that can be rushed into it somewhere. I mean, Dynamatic plus Ziliax is 2 damage short. Oh, I guess there isn't then. Hero Power
Okay then.
plus the Missile Launcher? Would that do it? Yeah, with the Super Collider as well, that would do it. But that's really horrible.
Wait, what's the game plan here? Sorry, you go.
It's not the game plan here, but I was gonna, if they Hero Power, play the Missile Launcher, and then hit in the Super Collider,
Oh right,
that would deal with it. Oh no, Missile Launcher.
No, yeah, Missile Launcher itself.
Ability would
Yeah, it
deal
does the 1 damage. Yeah.
Maybe it's not so bad then.
You didn't think Missile Launcher was just a 6-mana 4/4?
If he does go with that, then he's going to be magnetizing it.
Yeah, they are doing it.
It's actually not as bad then.
Yeah, this is really not that bad. And I think whatever they were doing on this turn, as long as it involves killing off the Beryllium Nullifier, it's a plan that I like. Because if you do not deal with that, they will stick other mechs on top of it, and you will start to get pretty dead, dare I say.
One of the things that amuses me about Missile Launcher is when it gets magnetized onto something, I find people often forget
Yeah.
that it's going to be launching missiles at the end of the turn. I know that I have done in the past anyway.
It's a fair assumption. I don't think that you would expect that little guy to shoot missiles directly into your face.
Like, I've definitely been in the position before. I've made really clever trades, like leaving several of my minions on 1 health, getting perfect damage on my opponent's minions, and thought, yeah, that was a great turn. And then watched in sheer horror as my microbot blew up my board.
Light the fuses.
Notice the complete lack of surprise in my face.
Wow, Chile just played back-to-back Dynamatics that didn't get their effect because, as you said, like everything's a mech.
Everything's a mech. And there is another delivery drone to deliver another mech to Jacob. Both teams have been getting, I think, reasonably lucky with these hero powers so far, getting a lot of Discover, a lot of armor up.
At least it's even.
Yes, exactly. That's what we want. You never want one player to get ridiculously unlucky at this point.
No hand space, though, which
Yes, yeah,
is
yeah.
slightly awkward for Spain, as yeah, they have to start by playing a mind control tech and then possibly even play the other mind control tech if nothing here is playable. And Beryllium Nullifier just has to be too tempting to pass up.
Yeah, Demolisher sucks. Kaboombot isn't great.
Kaboombot's probably worse than Demolisher, actually. In this
Yeah, Demolisher maybe could get some repeating value. I would have to imagine the Beryllium Nullifier will eventually be taken unless Jacob really doesn't want to play anything from the hand and therefore wants to just dump the Demolisher on this turn.
It can't be that good to hold on to the second MC tech. Like, it just seems worth taking the Nullifier. Wow, okay, I stand corrected.
Wow, that is not the play that I would have made. I would definitely have taken the Beryllium Nullifier there.
And dropped the MC tech.
Probably, maybe even drop Ziliax. Like,
Yeah, sure.
hit face, re-equip Super Collider. Like, it seems absurd. Maybe that is a little bit silly because Super Collider is so good in this matchup, but yeah, I don't know. Beryllium Nullifier can just be exactly what you need.
Well, there's definitely not the hand space to play that card.
And so now I would have to imagine Spain is going to be ending up dumping cards from their hand anyway. this is, I suppose, a little bit of a reason to have gone for the... not gone for the Beryllium Nullifier, because the Demolisher did free up hand space even quicker. They can now go for Mind Control Tech or whatever else, and they don't have a 7-mana card clogging up their hand. Wow. Did you see as well, Spain are playing an Augmented Elec in their Odd Warrior?
Wait, what?
I completely missed that as well when I was looking over it. So they can go Augmented Elec into Elise on the same turn.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I completely missed
Augmented Elec
it.
with Direhorn. I also completely missed it.
It was like I really didn't want to see it as well, because even after you said that, I mean, like scouring through the 3-drops, just not finding it.
Wow, that is pretty cool. Both of these deck lists are very interesting. And Jacob here with the Elec as well is clearly miles ahead in terms of the amount of cards he has available in his deck to prevent fatigue for as long as possible.
It's still only 1 extra card, isn't it? But like 1 extra Elise pack
Oh, that's insane.
seems pretty great.
Because that's not only, that represents potentially even more than that 1 card, because that's another chance to hit either a Direhorn Hatchling, an Elise, or a Raptor Hatchling off of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, in the scenario where they go Elise, Zola the Elise, next turn, Elec, then Elise.
Yeah.
That's 3 packs! If you like opening Hearthstone packs, that's how you should be playing Hearthstone.
That is just nutty. And they've also discovered a Direhorn Hatchling. So that means overall 3 Direhorns and 3 Elise packs. That's 6 cards they've added to their deck, maybe more.
Yeah, step aside, Benedictus. Step aside, Dead Man's Hand.
Yeah, not quite. If they're Dead Man's Hand, that would be a whole nother story.
In their Odd Warrior.
Yeah, firstly, their hero power would be useless and they would lose. But second of all, whew.
Well, you say that about the hero power being useless, but both Dr. Booms were played very early. I'm not even sure how much that matters in this game.
Please don't even tell me you are advocating people to put Dead Man's Hand in their Odd Warrior.
Well, no, if I were, I'd be advocating that people just play Control Warrior instead.
Yes, that would be a good thing to do.
And still jam Dr. Boom as early as possible.
Probably.
Nice little raptors.
Looking like possibly to get these cards out of hand, just going with a Cornered Sentry at first, maybe even following up with a Brawl, because this War Gearified Microbot is a little bit of a pain if it does end up Spain being hit a few times with it.
There's that Spark Drill again, Derek. If you were watching yesterday, we got very excited when it was picked from a Discover Effect, and it's back.
Jacob is clearly hesitant to be playing the Brawl at all, full stop. It does mean he can dump 2 extra cards from hand in the form of MCT Shield Slam instead of just Brawl, so a little bit closer to playing the Omega Assembly. And I guess Brawl is probably more valuable later on, considering your opponent is playing double Beryllium Nullifier in their deck, not even just off Discover Effects.
He's worried about what that random legendary is. He too thinks it's Luna. No, he's not going to be trying to play around Luna. He's going to be worrying about the much bigger things than that. But again, there is this possible scenario where Grumble does manage to get some value here.
That would be so sick.
I'm desperately... Grumble is not an Ungaro card, is it?
No, I think that's a Catacombs card.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I was thinking, is there, like, can Elise get another Grumble and they can just keep bouncing Grumbles or something stupid like that?
I'm just wondering, like, if it involves 1 card sticking for a turn, if you go Elise and then you go Zola Grumble, where you Zola the Elise, and then Grumble both of them back.
That's nuts.
You could then go, you could go Elise, Zola your Grumble next turn, bounce both of them back again.
Yeah.
Like, if these cards are not removed, maybe it affords the opportunity for Chile to shuffle a pretty silly amount of cards into their deck.
Maybe that's the game plan. Okay, no, because they can't just expect Elise to survive. However...
That is a dumb game plan. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it like it is.
It is, but Derek, if it's one of the only ways that you win... Maybe you try and get there.
Maybe they go Elise Faceless Manipulator on the same turn to bounce both of them back with Grumble.
Probably not great when Super Collider's on the board, but I like where you're going.
Oh yeah, that is. Well, it's not the dumbest thing that's been said on broadcast so far, but it's up there.
Whenever you say something like that, I just go on believing that you're talking about Gaskin or Lorinda.
Yeah, that's right.
Thoughts?
I'm fast and furious.
So Machine clearly not wanting to be throwing down the Elise for any Grumble nonsense until Zola has been found. Because while we were joking a little bit about the fact that you can go for Elise, Zola, Grumble them both back, Elise, Zola, Grumble them both back, whatever, any kind of nonsense, even if that doesn't happen, which it's very unlikely to, you do want to go Elise, Zola, at the very least.
Yeah.
At the least.
No, it doesn't work.
It just worked.
No.
It just did.
It didn't.
This hero power, not the most important to fit in. Anytime you get delivery drone or blast shield for extra armor, you do want to be pressing those. But even then, wanting to fit it in anyway, because any little bit of value that you can find yourself, I guess, is worth going for.
Yeah. Reckless Flurry, again, as you highlighted at the start of this game, it's just entirely useless. Chile is never going to be wanting to throw out 26 armor.
Yeah, especially because they are in the more aggressive style of Odd Warrior with War Gears and Beryllium Nullifiers, which means they are more likely to be at a higher armor total throughout the middle of the game, because Jacob has to play defensive to fight back against those mid-range minions.
Yep.
And we see here a pretty monumentous event. A card being drawn.
That's crazy.
Let's get some PogChamps up in here for a card being drawn. Oh my goodness.
Well, that does show us a shift in strategy indeed.
It does indeed.
Chile want to be putting things on the board. God, if we were casting any other matchup and saying these words, then I don't know what Twitch chat would be saying about us.
Probably much of what they're saying right now about us.
Nah, they love us.
Second one being played purely... Oh no, wait, a card wasn't drawn.
No, it was from the first one.
Was it drawn for the first
Yeah.
one? They drew it? Oh yeah, they drew it and played it. Okay, yeah. I thought on the first one as well they also hadn't drawn.
No.
Yeah, I was getting confused for a second there. Was it?
I'm almost certain it was, because they drew one and then drew the other one with the...
Yeah.
cryo.
I'm potentially revoking those PogChamps.
If we are wrong, then I definitely don't want to see what Twitch chat's saying about us.
Yeah. Fair enough. I was looking, in all honesty, at Spain's hand. They do seem to have the more difficult decisions at the moment, whether they throw out these die horns, how they try and fit in this Omega assembly, which at the moment doesn't look like it's going to be happening, because they are hesitant to play any of these cards.
Oh, I love that music.
There is the first of the nullifiers for Chile.
Yeah, because the one earlier was discovered, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What have we got? Oh, another nullifier, potentially.
Oh no, please, you take the
The Demolisher.
strictly superior Demolisher, as I've learned from watching Spain's gameplay.
Derek, it's not a spark drill. Don't get too excited.
But yeah, in all seriousness, Machine taking the Beryllium Nullifier. This is why I was so surprised to see the Demolisher taken, because it is usually a snap pick. It's the best of the mechs in this matchup.
It's so weird now, though, because if it weren't for the fact that he drew a card earlier, I'd expect Machine to faceless the Direhorn Hatchling, but he's drawn a card, which has shown us that his strategy isn't to win the fatigue game. If he now facelesses the Direhorn Hatchling, then that card draw starts to look really bad.
So maybe we will just see a big board of Beryllium Nullifiers.
Just stack them on top of each other.
Stacks on stacks.
I'm surprised he played the one from the Discovery drone rather than the one drawn from the deck. Given that Spain know that they're in the deck, you'd think he'd want to conceal the information.
Fair. Fair. Yeah, probably fairly inconsequential, but I agree. You probably want to give away a little bit less information. Maybe you snap-picked a Mechathune or something.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
So at the moment, I believe the only cards that have been shuffled in is the one Direhorn, which has just been drawn for Jacob.
Yep.
Elise has not been played on either side. No Zola has even been drawn on either side.
Spark Drill doing its thing.
Wow, 7 mana, deal 7 damage. Eat your heart out, Flame Lance.
I don't think Flame Lance is very hungry.
Me neither. That's why it's an expression.
Second Brilliant Nullifier coming down now. That armor is really stacking up.
Yeah, just hoping that this one finally, surely, will be able to stick on the board. We can clearly see multitude of ways for Spain to be able to deal with it. Ziliak's hero power, Faceless Manipulator hero power. I imagine they'll probably save the Faceless.
But, and again, maybe this is a stretch here, but the more removal that goes into getting rid of these Brilliant Nullifiers, maybe the more likely Elise is to stick, and maybe the more likely Grumble is to bounce it back.
Yeah.
It could happen. Like, it is a little bit far-fetched, but still possible.
It's not the most ridiculous thing. We've seen far more absurd things here at the Hearthstone Global Games. And if you play Elise and Zola and one of them does stick, God forbid both of them do stick, that's a lot of extra cards in the deck for Chile.
Yeah.
And their deck is, at least in terms of the actual cards they can play, better. They have better cards in the matchup, like Wargear, Beryllium Nullifier. They don't have shield blocks. Before Fatigue starts to set in, their deck is better. Once Fatigue starts to set in, the amount of extra draw and shuffle that Jacob has afforded himself will very rapidly become apparent. So I would anticipate that Chile is going to be trying to free up a little bit of hand space now for the Omega Assembly. Playing shield blocks in order to do so is a fairly steep cost, I would argue. You are then going to be unable to deal with Direhorn Matriarchs, only getting 2 mechs out of it anyway.
I mean, if he did for some reason play the second Shield Slam on the 1-1, he'd get 3, but I mean, there's a line you don't cross.
Yeah. I suppose every other card, sorry, he could throw down would be Brawl, which is probably too valuable. You can't throw down Elise or Grumble because you need to be more optimistic with those.
Chile will be wanting to empty their hands again at some point anyway for when he plays the Elise and draws the pack. He's going to want to get that pack value as quickly as possible. Hope to see a second Elise.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Or a Raptor. Is it Raptor Hatchling? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to those, if you do get any of the following in Raptor Hatchling or Direhorn Hatchling, then all of a sudden, Molten Reflections and Terrascale Stalker, I believe, become very, very powerful. Or Sudden Genesis can also be very powerful to copy those minions. There's a lot of...
Spirit Stinger Umbra as well.
Yeah, Spirit Stinger Umbra, right, that's the other one. There's a pretty substantial amount of Deathrattle synergy cards, or at least just copying cards, that give you a pretty decent chance to get even more cards in your deck.
And we've seen a bunch of these weird outcomes happen already in the Hearthstone Global Games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then.
So there is the possibility now for Machine to follow up with the opposing Direhorn Faceless with double Faceless, just to bolster his own fatigue count that a little bit more. There is only one owl in Spain's deck list, and there is no owls in Chile's deck list. Again, making way for the Rush package with Darius, double Town Crier, and Rabid Wargans, in addition to the extra mech packages from War Gear and Beryllium Nullifier, so there is no ability to stop the death rattles on these Direhorns from activating.
Alright, so finally Machine does go with the Faceless on the Direhorn Hatchling. Both Facelesses, in fact.
Yeah, just wanting to go for the fatigue game plan.
I wonder if they, when they played the first Town Crier, I wonder if they thought that they'd drawn all of their Rush minions. Because I'm still pretty sure I saw a Rush minion get drawn off of that. I'm going with that line.
Yeah, I also think that is the case. But
it just seems like a weird mistake to make.
Yeah. It does seem like an unnecessary tempo play to make. Because you only draw an extra 3/3, that's not that good. Yeah, two pretty good options here with Mechanical Whelp and Bulldozer. The Whelp can charge in and get that big Daddy Dragon rolling right away.
Which can then also, yeah, charge in and or rush in rather and do its thing. It's more damage than the Bulldozer in one turn.
Yeah.
Loses the Divine Shield, but it's playable this turn, which I think is the bonus that puts it over the edge. Otherwise, if you take the Bulldozer, you're saving it for a Kaboom turn.
That's fine. And those Kaboom turns really haven't been coming. Neither team here has been unfortunate enough, I think, to get Kaboom more than once. Which is good for both sides. They just want to be getting Delivery Drone, and I guess Blast Shield as much as possible.
Well, Jacob has certainly managed to take over the board, and now it's getting to that sort of threatening point where Machine has to do something about it. And he can Brawl Shield Slam, but then those cards are gone.
There's almost the starts of a hint of a threat here. It's interesting.
But the thing is, it should be Machine with the threats. He's the one with the aggressive deck. This is a sign that the game has not gone the way that they would have hoped it to go.
This would be a good time for a master plan. Oh, I love that music. What is my purpose?
So here, clearly just starting to dump these useless cards from the hand are Chile, trying to set up for the eventual Elise pack, which will undeniably come down later on in the game.
They ever draw Zola.
Yeah, sure. Oh, worst result surviving means they would have to attack in with the Super Collider if they want to clear this off.
They don't want to clear it off that badly.
yeah, the Super Collider charge is too valuable, and there is the Elise for Jacob as well, so I would be very unsurprised to see Elise Zola on this turn, get that rolling, and start drawing that pack.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
A lot of hesitation here on the Zola.
Yeah, there is reason to go for the Direhorn Hatchling, because after you have played Dr. Boom in this matchup, you do want to be throwing down your biggest threats every single turn.
But hey, it's another white board. Maybe this even baits out the Brawl. And the great thing is, he's got a minion that has 1 health, which means that Super Collider... Well, I mean, the hero power sort of renders what I'm saying wrong. But like, the Super Collider, if it hits the 1 health minion, the minion then doesn't attack into one of its sidekicks.
Consider yourself thoroughly wrong. But there's, I mean, I would imagine a pretty simple turn here of hero power, clear off everything with the Super Collider, if I'm counting correctly, attacking into the Elise with your weapon, and then playing Beryllium Nullifier. Maybe playing Direhorn Matriarch, actually, because it gets slightly more stats on board, and you want to play Beryllium Nullifier on a mech already on board with the magnetic effect. But neither are bad. There's definitely merit for both, because maybe on the following turn you want to go Direhorn Matriarch on the same turn.
Sure.
It's actually quite close. There's benefits to holding back either. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's the biggest threat immediately available, I suppose. There's the Augmented Alex.
Wow, right on time. for Spain.
That's so good. So 3 packs going to be available for Jacob. Jacob's going to want to empty his hand as quickly as possible. He can only play Brawl when there's more than 1 minion on the board, and that also costs him 5 mana. Omega Assembly actually fills up his hand. Reckless Flurry is unplayable. Shield Block's unplayable. The other Shield Block's unplayable. The other Reckless Flurry is unplayable. Emptying his hand is easier said than done.
Yes, but the really important factor isn't the cards that you get. It's the fact that you have another card shuffled into your deck. That's what really matters, because while we've been saying you can get cards like Direhorn Hatchling, Raptor Hatchling, another Elise, the Spirit Singer Umbra, all that nonsense, it's really mainly just 1 extra card from Fatigue.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Wow, he's actually going to play the Reckless Flurry, though, losing 14 armor in the process. But again, I don't want to say I disagree with you, Derek, but I do think there's certainly a lot of value in these packs.
It's true.
And the issue is that if Spain draws a pack, doesn't empty his hand in time, there's a chance he draws a second pack before he can play the first one, and that then is filling his hand more and reducing the value he gets from the packs even more.
It is incredibly unlikely he gets all 15 cards of value.
But I do like the idea of just now frantically emptying his hand as much as he can. I think he's going to take the first opportunity that he gets to play one of these brawls.
Yes, I definitely anticipate the same. Because after these, this second, or sorry, what is it, like 3rd or 4th Beryllium Nullifier is starting to come down for these teams, Spain realized that Brawl is their only way to deal with these minions, really, outside of another Reckless Flurry, I suppose. So they want to make sure that they are reserving these Brawls for the Beryllium Nullifiers, so now that they are starting to come down, I think Spain will be quite happy to play them.
Now his hand is lined up in a way where I can show you easily Jacob's position here. The 6 leftmost cards are all looking unplayable, which only leaves 4 spaces in the hand for the Ungoro packs.
I wouldn't be too surprised to see Omega Assembly maybe even not being played for the full value, because like you saw there for Machine, both of those cards were really bad. What was it, Harvest Golem and something else? I can't even remember. Framebot, yeah, just really not good cards. You are very unlikely, as you can see here as well, to find good mechs. Those were all really bad mechs. Really bad mechs.
I'm going to go ahead and play the second Reckless Flurry, okay. It's
clearing out space from their hand.
As long as Chile doesn't get this large amount of pressure themselves, then this is sort of okay.
And I think this is a good spot, because Jacob's actually realized the way he loses this matchup is if he leaves a Beryllium Nullifier up and another Beryllium Nullifier or any other magnetic minion sticks on top of that. That is the worst case scenario, because he struggles to deal with that at all. You'd have to get lucky with a Brawl or build up enough armor for a massive Reckless Flurry.
Okay, Chile actually got some better mechs there from his Omega Assembly. Slightly better, still not incredible, but anything with magnetic is at least somewhat good.
It's not
Tony
bad.
Rover is fine, it's cheap, and that makes it fine.
And Lifesteal can be very good in a fatigue race as well, with the Rusty Recycler. I've seen far worse minions. I've seen far worse minions in this game with the Rusty Recycler. Oh, sorry, with the Framebot and the Harvest Golem.
Yep. Actually, Harvest Golem's not that bad with Rush.
Yeah,
because then the Damage Golem also has Rush, and that's something. It's like a very, very small mechanical whelp.
If you like.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Like really small.
Still, after all these turns, it's pretty amazing that neither player has been able to run away with the board. I guess that is just emblematic of what Odd Warrior games are like. This is just how they go. There's too much... with the Super Colliders, you can never really go wide on board. The mechs just trade 1 for 1 because they all have Rush.
Sorry, don't mind me while I just chuckle to myself about the fact a Shield Slam has just been drawn immediately after both Reckless Flurries had been played, reducing Jacob's armor to 0. Do you think he could ever consider playing a Shield Block?
Ooh, to draw an extra card. He is so far ahead on fatigue anyway, but he's really far behind on armor.
It empties one of the, inverted commas, unplayable cards from his hand. It allows him to play Shield Slam, which would use up another card.
Doesn't really help with hand size issues though, does it? Because he probably plays it and then all of a sudden draws a pack right off the top.
Yeah. But Well, I was just about to say, but clearly he's holding back this Elise to prevent that stuff from happening. But there you go.
Yeah, I think I like getting it down now. It's a big play onto the board as well, and it also... oh no, wait, all the Diahorns have been bounced. So this Aelec, I believe, is pretty unassuming now. It's not a must-remove target for Chile at all.
He got the armor anyway for next turn, so Shield Slam will be playable. And now Spain has managed to reduce the, again, semi-unplayable cards down to 5, which means that the pack will be able to get full value if he wants it to. Maybe if he can squeeze out a Brawl as well at some point.
I mean, we could see Steel Rager, Shield Slam next turn, because there's the Hero Power there as well. Yeah, and then just go pack with the Hero Power as well, exactly.
And if he doesn't draw the pack next turn, then maybe he goes for the Brawl.
He's got pretty much a 50% chance to draw the pack next turn. There's 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
And, oh man, just look at how far ahead he is on cards now. 7-1. This is not even close to being close. Chile's only chance here is to stick a big board and try and hit Spain with it. And at the moment, they're kind of behind on board. In fact, they're pretty decidedly behind on board.
So Zola is Machine's bottom card.
Yes.
Which means Elise Zola will still happen, and if one of those minions stick, or if the Elise sticks, then Grumble could still get its value. Jacob must be wondering what that leftmost card is now. Like, he knows it's the random legendary from the Pinata.
He's probably thinking, oh my goodness, that Derek Brown guy, he's owed a tenner because it's Nat Pagel and thus completely unplayable.
Imagine if it was Benedictus.
Oh my god. That'd be even better than Rin. Is there anything better than Benedictus in this matchup? It's like Benedictus and Rin is it, right? That's like the 2 absolute best of the best.
Yeah.
And there it is. It's Zola time for Machine. He wants to prevent the fatigue, get those cards in his deck, and while it does look pretty unlikely, I think it's fair to say that these will be sticking about. Who knows? Maybe he'll get lucky and Spain will decide to leave it up. I heavily doubt it.
Jungle hides many secrets.
But this was their best shot, was to hope that they could bounce it back with Crumble on the next turn.
I mean, there are potential cards that he could get from the Elise pack that might be worth grumbling, I guess. Not many, though.
Not a whole lot, I would definitely agree with you. I'm being out a little bit too late with all the faceless Direhorns already gone, already dead, and the Matriarchs all already played now as well.
It would be just so insane if the Elise and Zola for some reason survive this turn.
I mean, there's the ability to kill them off on
it's too
board,
easy.
right?
Yeah.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Yeah, Steel Rager, ready to rush in and finish the job. Thank goodness it's got Rush, or phew, this Elise would be surviving. Oh no.
It's nice that Faithful Lumi gets its moment in the spotlight as well. I mean, being the other card on our HGG wall this week.
That's true. I doubt it will be that good, but it's there. It's doing a thing, I suppose.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
It's one of the cuter cards in the set.
Oh, definitely. It's got to be the cutest of this set.
I'm out of cards.
Out of cards once again is Chile before I imagine they shuffle the Elise back in once again. Maybe they try and clear off this board first and then try and stick the Elise after so that there's no ability to kill it off on board. I don't think it's that ridiculous. If they clear off this board with like Reckless Flurry now or in the next couple of turns and then go Matriarch Elise, I don't think it's that ridiculous that it would survive after the Super Collider is dealt with.
They could go big as well. They could go Kaboom Bot Beryllium Nullifier or even Hero Power Beryllium Nullifier. There's a lot of options available to Machine. Again, he is going to be wanting to empty his hand before he plays that pack. The problem with playing Elise and the Direhorn Matriarch would be great if not for the fact that the Super Collider is still there.
Yeah, Machine clearly here is unsure about how to best approach the situation, coming all the way down to the rope. before he inevitably decides, you know what, any kind of nonsense where it survives is a little bit too optimistic. They just have to hope that something else comes off the Aggro pack. A nice battle cry minion that they can try and get a little bit of value with the Grumble.
Chile just really like triggering Dr. Boom's, oh, I'm out of cards! You know, 3 times in one game.
I do like Dr. Boom's voice acting.
Yeah.
And a fun accent.
We didn't really hear him talk back in Goblins vs. Gnomes, did we?
Yeah, just... Well, actually, I'm not going to do the laugh.
Okay, then.
Ooh, yeah, thinking Security Rover here. I was thinking the piloted Reaver was worth considering to get a Faithful Lumi out of your hand. It's not ridiculous because you do want to be clearing out hand space.
Yeah.
But given that you can play it this turn anyway, let's get it down onto the board.
Let the little light bulb give its +1/+1 buff, Derek. Come on. Don't be cruel.
Before it gets crushed by giant pneumatic gorilla robot arms for smashing things.
I'm out of cards.
Are we ever going to see an Elise pack get opened this game, Derek?
I would hope so.
I'm honestly quite bored of waiting.
3 out of 4 of Jacob's remaining cards, I believe, are packs now. I believe we've just been told that we are at the 50-minute mark, which is not really at the level of the previous Benedictus versus Odd Warrior game, and I doubt we'll surpass it as Chile have finally entered fatigue. And unless they can find another Direhorn hatchling, Raptor hatchling, or Elise off of these packs, they are going to be dying fairly quickly here, I would imagine. As, to be honest, I think we both expected right from the start.
Yep. Depending on what the packs do, I guess. But it's really down to Machine to get on and empty his hand. He's taking his sweet time doing that. And I guess these Security Rovers are making life a little bit tricky for him. The fact that, yeah, he's going to have to play Reckless Flurry. He's sacrificing 16 armor just to get himself back onto the board. Maybe get this Direhorn Matriarch to stick.
Yeah, it's really all he's got at this point, in addition to, obviously, praying that the packs do something. And there we go. Finally, for Spain, they get the Aggro pack. It seems oddly thematic, as it seems like the expansion packs always come out a little bit later in Europe than they do in America.
Not anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
They do
been-
actually come out at the same time.
It's been pretty universal recently.
Finally, the dumping of cards is starting to occur for Jacob and for Spain as they throw down the Elise pack for, what is that, only 3 cards? Yeah, just realizing if they miss cards on this one, it means they might be able to get more from the next one. Whatever happens, they are not getting the full 15 cards. I don't hate this.
And all of those cards are looking pretty useless. Tortillion Shellraiser is...
Call it Tortelloni Shellraiser.
Tortillion.
Oh, Tortillion, right. Close enough. It's Tortollan.
Ah. Thank you.
Okay, then.
So really just wondering here for Machine, not only how... Well, he has to do 3 things here. He has to clear up his opponent's board, then he has to develop his own board, and he also has to dump cards from his hand in the process to set up for these packs, which looks like it might be happening on this turn after the Gatekeeper hits the board. Then we could see... actually, I guess it would probably be Hero Power on this turn. You can just pack next turn. But next turn, we'll probably be able to see one of these packs being bust open.
And what do you know? It's another pack.
Da, 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 da. I wonder if there's any way he could get Primal Fin Champion. Oh, sorry, what is that? Primal Fin Scout? Whatever it's called, to discover another mech. I don't think, unless he gets another one off the pack, there's any other way that he can generate a mech.
Murloc.
Oh yeah, a Murloc, sorry. Well, actually, that's a good point. If he can get Nightmare Amalgam, that is both a mech and a Murloc.
That is true. And an elemental, which could get discounted by the Fire Plume Harbinger.
I'm seeing the lines here.
The synergy, it's too much.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
That pack wants to be opened so badly. Look at it shaking around.
Yeah, not quite yet though, methinks.
If I opened up a Hearthstone pack and had one card, I wouldn't be very happy.
I guess you go... It doesn't even want to go Iron Beak Owl on this turn. I guess preparing for if something nightmare goes wrong with the Ungoro pack. Maybe, I don't know, Lyra off of it, or a Tyrantus that you need to be able to target. That doesn't really make sense though, because you have Brawl. I'm not even sure, but I guess just in case there's anything they've forgotten, holding back the Iron Beak Owl just in case. But it does look to me like there is pretty little that could possibly go wrong here for Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob seems quite happy with himself at the moment. Even getting the armor hero power to put himself even further ahead health-wise. I cannot believe that we've seen both players play both Reckless Flurry this game. That's not something that happens regularly in this type of matchup at all. At least not until deep into Fatigue.
Yeah. To be honest, here from Chile playing the Spark Drill, like, I'm not entirely sure why you wouldn't just start with the pack, unless he's planning on playing Kaboom Bot as well, actually, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, he can play the 1-1 from the Spark Drill, hit that in, hit the Kaboom Bot into the 2-3, and then the Deathrattle will either deal with Darius or the 4-1. So there is logic to that.
Is there? What if it hits Darius? Oh, sorry, you get 2 sparks off of Spark Drill. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, yeah, so planning on playing Kaboom Bot. I guess this makes sense. Clear up the board this turn, then do Ungoro pack on the next turn.
Gotta put that 1-1 down.
And there's another!
The Spark is an elemental, so if Chile gets Kalamos from this Ungoro pack, then it will be playable immediately.
Wow, then they can make 1-1s that gets brawled, deal 6 damage.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
If, however, they get Servant of Kalamos and can then go
that's much better.
Infinite Calamaris. And here we go, it is pack time for Spain. Only getting 4 this time, but deciding, you know what, that's good enough. We've already got all 3 of our packs, so even in the worst case scenario, if we have to burn something, it's nothing that bad. A pretty miserable selection though.
Dynamancy though, Derek.
Yeah, literally completely useless.
Hang on though, there is a beast in there. There's 2 beasts actually present in Jacob's hand.
Please stop talking.
Okay.
And let's see what happens here. Chittering Tunneler into Dead Man's Hand. Could it be?
Oh my goodness!
Poggers.
No way! Hallucination into Dead Man's Hand.
Those are the 2 chances. Let's have a look.
If that actually happens, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that would be
This would be a good time
disgusting.
For a master plan.
Oh my god.
Okay, alright.
Okay.
Calm
it
down,
is
everyone.
3 completely useless cards.
Though Chittering Tunneler is actually more likely to get the
only
Dead Man's
spells.
Hand.
Yeah.
So that's still somewhat terrifying.
And I guess the fact that Hallucination gets minions as well could have meant Direhorn Hatchling.
No, sure.
What else? That's the only warrior
Yeah.
card that shuffles a card.
I think so.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Hand shuffling the pack in as well. Like, I mean, Chile could go Chittering Tunneler and then Grumble to get another shot at it as well. It's not unreasonable.
Yeah, well, it's somewhat unreasonable, but it's kind of what Machine has to hope for. Oh man, even then, he's only got minions in hand. This board is just going to kill him.
And a pack.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, he has to get something off pack or Chittering Tunnel. Like, even if he got the option of Dead Man's Hand here, he might even just take Brawl because he's just dying. He's going to lose to this pressure on board. All this nonsense he's messing about with doesn't really matter. Like Mirage Caller on... I can't remember what this flower was even called. Sherazin wouldn't even get him there because it would just be too much pressure.
2 Calamars!
Wow. Pretty flashy, and I guess we could see Fireplume Harbinger on this turn.
Fireplume Phoenix.
Yes, Fireplume Phoenix, sorry. The wrong Fireplume.
Sorry, I get my Fireplumes mixed up as well.
Yeah, just setting up for the Calamos. Probably for the heal, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only real one to go for, unless it's deal 3 damage to all enemy minions.
Yeah, maybe that can make a difference.
Maybe he sets up a scenario in which that happens. I am somewhat surprised we didn't see the Chittering Tunneler before the pack, but I guess as you were saying, he didn't feel like he had the time to do that.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything. He needs to hope that he gets something good off of this, and he just got minions. He needed spells that cleared the board. Maybe a Meteor, a Volcano perhaps.
Again, Calamars can do some serious work.
It's true, it's true. Especially 2 in a row.
Over 2 turns, it's 6 damage of AoE. Ah, if only he could get a Shuttlewalk.
Still, Jacob so far ahead in the lead. He is only just starting to take fatigue, whereas Machine is all the way down to 5 points of fatigue taken on this turn. He's just looking to be like he's not going to be able to get there. Still, it's just a little bit too miserable for Chile.
So it's going to be Calamos this turn, but is he healing or is he dealing?
Okay, then.
I mean, I would imagine you have to heal. You're not worried about your opponent's health total here.
I meant dealing to me.
Oh,
I
dealing
should have
three.
made that
Right,
much clearer.
Like, Invocation of Air, it literally doesn't clear off any damage on this turn because it just summons them a security bot.
But it gets
12
rid
is
of
such overkill. Yeah.
it gets rid of the security rover.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Taking the third option, I guess it baits out a brawl, which means Jacob isn't necessarily developing on board.
Yep.
Even then, I think hoping that it baits out a brawl is quite optimistic because we could just see security rover attacks in, summons a security bot that takes out 2. You can literally take out everything other than the Calamos on this turn without having to play brawl.
Yeah.
Which I guess is one of the best case scenarios for Chile because they then have a Calamos on board.
Which they can grumble. I mean, it's a real thing though. 1 mana 7/7 with that battle crate isn't bad.
But if they weren't under so much pressure here, they could go for stuff like Chittering Tunneler into Grumble.
They've been able to go Mirage Cooler to copy the Calamos to Grumble and get both of them back.
And there it is.
Oh, what a result.
Yeah, best case for Jacob as well. Just salting the wound here really for Machine, as he's just going to be dying to fatigue in the next couple turns.
He's got to play the Tunneler then.
Yep. And do what exactly, I ask you?
Get Dead Man's Hand. That will prevent the fatigue damage.
Yeah, I guess. And then hope that, I don't know, your microbots can get there somehow.
I mean, I think if he gets Dead Man's Hand, he wins.
I don't.
Why?
Because there's still a pack on his opponent's side of the board. There's still pressure on board.
Still
Maybe he does. Yeah.
Phoenix. I think he just wins if he...
Yeah, maybe. He takes 2 damage right now.
So he goes down to 10.
Yeah.
Then he can play Fireplume Phoenix to deal with the 2/2, sets up for Calamos next turn. I think it's fine. Either way, going to start with the Fireplume Phoenix. I mean, let me rephrase. I don't think he wins without Dead Man's Hand.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he does either.
From my perspective, he needs to be going for it.
I agree. And I think we I mean, hopefully, I would imagine we see it as the next card being played here.
Well, it's too late. He can't be playing the Dead Man's Hand this turn anyway.
Yeah.
I don't agree with this turn.
Yeah, he's just trying to get his head on the board as possible so that, I mean, then he can hopefully not be too far behind on board when he does go for it. Not quite lethal, I believe. Yet available for Spain.
Tyrantus.
And they find themselves, yep, Tyrantus is pretty juicy. Another Tar Lurker into Tolvir. That's a great wall of taunts that you're setting up. Maybe Tortol and Forager can get something as well.
Oh, God. Good choice. Force your opponent in taking 2 turns.
Would that give them 2 turns of fatigue?
Well, yeah, it would, but like, it's no better than taking your turn in between, is it?
Good point. Good point.
Fun thought, though.
Not that it is even going to be needed, I don't imagine.
Actually, it would be better than that in the scenario that you're about to die to fatigue damage yourself as well.
Yes, that's true.
But they're not in that position. All right, Calamus take 2.
Yeah, I think it's going to be healing up on this turn, lest you just die, as sad as it is. And now, what, they just took 7, was it, on that turn? Yeah, so now they're about to take 8, which means 2 turns they're dead anyway, unless they get armor.
Play the Dead Man's Hand. It's only going to be adding 4 cards into the deck now. I don't even know if that's enough.
Yeah. And, you know, we are banging on a little bit about the potential to get Dead Man's Hand. It was very, very, very unlikely to work out either way, but I think we were both imagining that's maybe their only real shot at taking it.
And again, if earlier on in the game there would have been several chances. Chittering Tunneler into Grumble, into Chittering Tunneler again.
Yeah.
Would have been 2 shots at the Dead Man's Hand. It does feel like a missed opportunity, even conceding now without first playing the Tunneler. It makes me wonder if they hadn't even considered the possibility.
And there we go. We have a 2-0 lead for Spain after an incredibly long game of Hearthstone there, but it does look like it's going to be taking a little bit of a turn for the worse for them now.
Yes, it does. When we come back, we're going to be seeing Deathrattle Hunter from Chile's side versus toggwaggle druid from Spain. Will Spain be able to complete the sweep, or will Chile begin to make their comeback? Find out after this break. It's Chile versus Spain, and Spain are currently 2-0 here in the Hearthstone Global Games, but things, as you said before, Derek, are about to get a little bit trickier for Spain.
Yeah, they have a matchup that we've seen pretty consistently going miserably on their side, with them piloting the toggwaggle druid up against the Deathrattle Hunter that Chile are going to be piloting. While some other variants of druid can have a decent shot, I find, against the Deathrattle Hunter, because Malagos can just ramp up, play an early Malagos and burst them down, maybe with a couple of Tyrants thrown in there as well for extra damage. And the Token Druid can actually do a surprisingly good job with an early Whispering Woods, an early Chain Gang, Giggling Inventor with the Strong Shell, and just get a surprise lethal. Toggwaggle Druid, however, I find, maybe I'm just not good enough with the deck, your win condition is just a little bit too late game. You're usually going to be dying to the mid-game Devil Saws and Cubes and high mains and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is very much like one of the difficulties in playing this matchup is having to save the Naturalize and not being able to save the Naturalize.
Right.
In an ideal world, you wait until you've switched decks with the Toggwaggle, your opponent has 0 cards in the deck, you Naturalize them twice, and maybe even get lethal from it. But it's very difficult against the Deathrattle Hunter deck that's consistently putting out these big threats, you know, 5/5s, Katharinas, King Crushes with charge, high mains, etc. Like, you kind of need to play the Naturalizers early in order to survive.
I often run into the same issue because Spreading Plague just doesn't buy you enough time. And one of the other things that I also find in this matchup is that Azalina just isn't that good. There's few things that you would actually like to steal, because very often, unless you're really up far ahead on board and you steal a few zombies to close out the win, usually you play Azalina, they're probably ahead on board, and then you just die because you realized you played a 7-mana 3/3 and you're pretty sad.
Yeah, 7-mana 3/3s honestly aren't the best statted minions in Hearthstone, or
Arguably the worst
the
static
worst
minions in Hearthstone.
Hearthstone. But as we said, I think at some point yesterday, Azalina is a very, I think it's a very well-designed card, especially now since it's been balance changed, or since it's been
Yes.
balance changed. That's not the right wording there. I don't know. It's been a long series already.
The mechanics have been reworked a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. And it's got such a powerful effect. It would be stupidly strong if it was well statted for its mana cost, I think.
I agree with you there. The fact that you have to play a 7-mana 3/3 and an 8-mana 5/5 somewhat mediates or ameliorates the power of Toggwaggle Druid, whereas otherwise it would be a little bit too strong. But even then, while we have been talking about how miserable this can be for Toggwaggle Druid, you can still just do Druid stuff. True. You still share a lot of the same cards that both Malagos to a greater extent and also to a somewhat lesser extent Token Druid are playing. So you can just go Wild Growth, Nourish, make a big board perhaps with the Death Knight and the Arcane Tyrants as well, and then just burst them down. It does happen.
Let's jump in and see though. Obviously Delsom, again, he's going to want Druid things to start off with. He's going to be looking for Wild Growths, he's going to be looking for Nourishes, and when he has those cards, he's then going to be looking for Ultimate Infestation. As for Chile, they have an egg.
Yeah, they got an egg, which is a good way to get rolling. They're also going to be looking for, I would imagine, just the mid-game power cards like Cube, maybe a high main. Katharina, when it comes down, is obviously insane. Mossy Horror, as well, is devastatingly powerful in this matchup to fight back against those plagues.
Wow.
Oh,
that's a nice hand, isn't it?
It's like a lot of the best cards in this matchup, actually, one might say.
Delsom does end up with Wild Growth, though. If he can get a Nourish to play for turn 5, and if he can then get an Ultimate Infestation to play, around turn 8, then maybe it could do some things. Actually, having Dream Petal Florist nice and early can bolster this deck a little bit, because if he can empty his hand of other minions, bank...
Just go for a turn 8 swap.
Bank the discount on Azalina so that he can then swap at the first possible opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, jokes aside, if Delsom can swap decks before Rexar has been drawn, then the Druid does just win.
I do often see players going for much earlier Toggwaggle swaps than I would usually go for, but that is the mark of a good player of these combo styles of decks. At the start, you play very rigidly with what the set quote-unquote win condition of the deck is, which is draw your whole deck, then you go Toggwaggle into Azalina. But what I see a lot of the very powerful Toggwaggle Druid players going for is an early swap, saying my deck is just not really doing anything once the combo's been played, so go for it. You are welcome to have it.
Well, Delsom is not welcome to have this Deathstalker Rexar.
Yes.
That is going to be slammed on turn 6 before Azalina even has a chance to try and steal that hand.
Probably. Not necessarily, because you want to play quickly in this matchup. You want to get a good board going nice and quick. And Deathstalker Rexar is often not that good against Druid boards. So if it's the choice between something like Deathstalker Rexar or High Main, or Deathstalker Rexar and Cube Play Dead, it will very possibly be given up.
5-mana 4/4s. That's not Druid things. That's pretty far from Druid things, actually.
Should we make a Tumblr page of just Druid things? You have a nice filter on in the background, and it's like when you pay 1 mana and destroy your opponent's 8-mana card and mold them 2 cards at the same time. Just Druid things. Playing a UI on turn 5.
That was going to be my next one.
Just Druid things.
Took it from me.
Taking things from your opponent. Just Druid things.
And Priest things, actually. Rogue things too, you could say.
There.
Winning the game with Malagos before turn 7.
That's definitely just Druid things. Well done, my friend.
However, for you.
Tempo doing just Hunter things here, making a lot of big beasts nice and quickly, and definitely going to be going on the aggressive as soon as possible against Delsom. But with the pickup of Blood Mage Thalnos, this position is made somewhat more palatable. Can just get rid of the Devil's Door right now, draw a card with the Thalnos, set up for killing potentially the Terrascale Stalker next turn.
It's a somewhat strange list. actually from Delson, because, or maybe it's not strange. Maybe this is the kind of list that has been getting more and more standard. It's just I happen to notice there's no Oaken Summons, no Ironwood Golem, and no Forbiddenness Floop, which usually you get the summons or the Floop, one or the other.
Really, I haven't seen Floop in a non-Malagos version of this deck, I have to be honest.
Oh, really?
I am definitely seeing more, like you said, Oaken Summons and Ironwood Golems than MCT versions, but there are obviously benefits to playing it this way. You can fit in the mind control text like we see, there's more for Thalnos, Wrath, stuff like that. I find Twig interesting in this deck as well, because while I agree it's definitely the generally agreed upon card to play, it does usually find a spot in this deck. It's not necessarily in every deck. If you actually,
I've certainly played lists without it recently.
Yeah, because if you, I think if you look on HS Replay with toggwaggle Druid, Twig is quite low on the win rates of when it's played, or at least when it's kept in the mulligan at least.
Okay, Derek, very stupid question. Could there possibly be any merit to playing as Alina here? I mean, the answer is like 97% no. Because they're not going to expect there to Deathstalker Rexar to be one of the two cards. And if it's not, they just lose the game outright.
Even if you do, you tank 20 minimum on this turn. I'm going to agree with you in saying
it was
yes,
stupid.
It was a stupid question. But it's always worth considering. In a deck that runs as Alina, you have to consider when you can get away with playing it. But when your hand isn't that bad, like Swipe and Blood Mage Thalnos Swipe is really not that bad of a hand.
The texture of this board is really, really frustrating for Delson there, because like, if he swiped the Houndmaster Shore, the next turn he could have gone Thalnos Starfall, but it would be destroying the egg, putting another 5/5 on the board. There's just no clean way of getting rid of all of this. I guess he could Thalnos swipe the Houndmaster Shore and Hero Power the 5/3, but he's still taking a lot of damage. Spain's probably feeling pretty hopeful at the moment, because Chile only have 2 cards in their hand. They're close to running out of stuff, except they're not, as we can see.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, even if they do have Deathstalker Rexar, it's still slow accruing value. True. It doesn't come into play quickly, unless they go Rexar, Hero Power, and then Bittertide Hydra next turn or something like that. So what are the plays that are actually available now to Spain? They can no longer go Thalnos Swipe Hero Power to take out the 5/1.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Thalnos Swipe at all always kills the egg now. If they draw with Nourish, they can hope to hit Ferocious Howl to stay alive, I suppose, for a little bit, but they've already played one, so it's unlikely that they find it.
Starfall for 5 to deal with Shore seems bad.
Yeah.
Starfall and Swipe can't be played together, and even if they could, it's not good either.
So if you go Thalnos Starfall on the 4/8, does that set up for clearing on the following turn? They're just saying basically no matter how you run it through here, everything looks bad. Let's look for an MCT and feel something good. And it could not really have worked out all that much better for them.
Hunter's Mark makes this significantly worse, as Chile does now have the potential to smack 12 damage, or 14 including the Hero Power.
Very easy play.
Straight to the dome.
Yeah, I think you just go Rexar as well. Set up the zombies next turn. The damage keeps going through to face.
And now the question on everyone on Team Spain's minds are, where's Spreading Plague at?
Oh, well, I'm sure they're actually thinking, ¿Dónde está?
Is that Spanish for where's Spreading Plague at?
It's for where is. I don't know Spreading Plague. All I know is ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Which is where is the library.
Well, they have the ability to gain a lot of armor this turn, thanks to the Ferocious Howl and Branching Paths. So they're not even close to being dead yet. Thalnos Swipe Hero Power on the Devil Store would clear everything apart from the 5/5 that comes from the egg. It's not looking too bad, apart from the fact they are now taking a metric ton of damage.
Yeah, it's not looking too bad, apart from the fact that it's looking terrible and the 2 damage off dying Which, you know, it doesn't mean they're dead because the hero power has been changed to the strictly worse builder beast.
Joke's on you, Deathstalker Rexar.
None of these. Oh, wait. King Muckler? Oh, no, wait, sorry. It gives your opponent bananas. I'm thinking of Muckler, Tyrant of the Veil.
if that 3-mana 5/5 gave you bananas, I think it would be a little bit more play than it does.
I was getting excited.
Any of these with Stone to Spore would do it, though.
Yep. Nope. That is not that, though.
Divine Shield Poison is kind of awkward to deal with, though.
And now, at 1 health, Dalesome has the ability to start gaining a little bit more armor here. Maybe start drawing towards that Naturalize to deal with this board. Or, sorry, 2 health. Incredibly close to dying, but still just on the precipice. Maybe they can turn this around.
So how exactly does Dalesome want to do this? Does he want to Ferocious Howl first and then, I guess, gain 12 armor from Branching Paths? Does he want to start by drawing cards with Branching Paths and then gain armor once with Ferocious Howl?
Oh.
Ah, well that changes things. Now he's happy to just gain as much armor as possible.
Yeah. So I guess Ultimate Infestation on this turn, you don't have Toggwaggle. Like, I was thinking about it because it makes your next turn so much better that maybe you don't worry about burning the cards.
He'd also be very close to just being dead if he did that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not going to even play Ferocious Howl. He's going to set up the Twig, I guess. Oh.
Or Staff.
Oh, that's better, yeah.
Yep. Denying as much damage coming through as possible, and it means now at 14 health, I don't believe there's any one Zombeast that could kill him on this turn. Even Bitterside Hydra Boar is only 9.
Tundra Rhino plus the Adapt minion. It would have 5 attack. It could give the Beetle Wind Fury.
Fair point.
I got there. I think I got there.
Yeah, just about.
No, it's 1 off. Never mind, I didn't get that.
Oh yeah, it's only 13, you're right. Still 1 off either way, but either way, it's looking very unlikely that they'll be able to deliver lethal on this turn, so getting themselves a Stealth Beast is absolutely perfect. The Ultimate Infestation really has nowhere good to point itself.
No, on paper, Spain survive if they play Ultimate Infestation, but any little smidge of damage that Chile could pick up would finish Spain off.
What would that be? 2 damage off lethal again?
Yep.
And Dalesome will have to burn a card here. And I guess just pray that it's not King Toggwaggle.
Uh-oh, it's a legendary minion. It's Toggwaggle! No! That is the worst thing that could have possibly happened for Dalesome.
Well, let's be honest, he was probably losing this game anyway. But I think now he is very probably losing this game anyway. And there is another stealthed beast for tempo, which means another beast that is very, very difficult to deal with. If Dalesome wants to be able to fight back against the potential of a Mossy Horror with his Spreading Plague, he will have to go Mossy Branching Paths for double plus attack. And even then, he can only kill off 1 of his own minions here. So Spreading Plague will only be summoning 2 Scarabs. Or 1 even, if Chile want to sacrifice off their 4/4 into the Ghoul here. As stupid as that sounds. And they probably won't do that. Yep, just making a difficult board to be dealt with.
Now all hope has to be lost for Dalesome and the team. They have no way of switching decks with their opponents, so when they run out of cards, they've run out of cards. Honestly, Derek, I don't even really understand why we haven't seen a concede.
There's always hope, isn't there? You're still Druid. You can go for double Naturalize, which evens the fatigue counter.
Wow.
Completely negligible amount. And maybe they can Azalina an impressive Zombeast. I don't even know.
Hanging in there.
Keep on keeping on. And they've still got Malfurion as well, I suppose, right at the bottom.
Great. 3 damage a turn.
Yeah, it's not looking all too good. I would imagine still keeping up with the zombies here will be Chile, just trying to find anything that can get stealth or anything that can charge through to the face.
They'll keep playing nice and slowly and carefully and make sure that they don't somehow lose the game through some surprise.
Oh man, if they went for Crackling Razormaw or the Vicious Fledgling here, the addition of the Tiger will be absurd here. Yet another stealth, even hitting Wind Fury. That is disgusting.
15 damage.
That was
candle
me
shot there
vomiting.
as well. Yeah, that was quite clear.
And now, still, I think we're both left pretty perplexed as to what Spain's game plan is here. They don't even have the ability to set up a taunt with Spreading Plague because Mossy will deal with that. If they can draw Naturalize, both of which I believe are right at the bottom of their deck, there we go.
The game plan is all 4 of the players blinked and missed the fact that Toggwaggle was burned, and maybe it's still in there somewhere.
So if we see a Naturalize on this turn, they can't go Azalina as well. They probably wouldn't even want to. 11 damage, 2 damage off lethal. Yeah. So still, as it looks, not over for Chile. Oh, sorry, for Spain. Because Mossy Horror, then 9 damage to face, is still 2 off lethal. However, Katharina with King Crush would still be 1 off lethal. Because then King Crush would be a 9/9 when summoned from the deck, if it summons it, of course.
I'm channeling my inner Saronite Chain Gang here. And I am really wondering how long this is going to go on.
No dragons, so no rush.
It's not a position I like to admit to very often where... Oh, what?
Stone Tusk Boar was just gained, but I don't believe there's enough mana to play it in addition to the Mossy Horror.
No.
So yeah, sorry, no lethal available quite yet.
Yeah,
Wow.
1 off again! I don't like to admit to this position very often, but seriously, the moment that Toggwaggle was burned, this game just ended because the Toggwaggle Druid just had no win condition. So even though they're already heavily unfavored with their win condition still intact, the moment that was gone, the only win condition was burned. The game just ended immediately.
Spain here clearly going to be hoping that there is no Mossy Horror to deal with their Scarabes, and I guess that they can clear up everything else. Yeah, just hope that they get in the way. We could clearly see, though, this is finally going to be lights out for Dale Som and the rest of the Spaniards. They finally lose a game in this series. And Chile look like they have a couple of decent matchups coming up as well to maybe try and equalize or eventually take this series.
Spain have had a bit of an adventure in the Hearthstone Global Games, winning their first 3 series in a row, and then going on to lose 2 in a row, thankfully going on winning their 4th, or getting their 4th win after that that they needed to get through to the top 16. They are really going to want to win this. I know that they want to get to BlizzCon, having had conversations with AKA Wonder. It's something that they really want to do, and they are still ahead in this series. I believe the next matchup is going to be a little bit more even than the one we just saw, but we're going to have to find out what that is after this. So coming up is a matchup that we're not quite so sure about one way or the other. It's going to be Aggro Mage for Chile versus Shadowwalk Shaman for Spain. This could go either way, couldn't it, Derek?
Yeah, and we have seen it go either way in the Hearthstone Global Games. There have been a couple of things that have changed it since Boomsday have come up, because obviously both of these decks have been existing for a little while now. Primarily, I would imagine Stargazer Luna existing for the Aggro Mage, which does make it a little bit more difficult for the Shaman because they have to kill it off and they don't necessarily have the strongest single target.
I hate to interrupt you, Derek. We have to talk about this hat.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
I'm pretty sure it's like a Chile flag hat.
It's incredible. Okay,
Yeah.
Anyway, please resume.
This is like completely new to a non-football fan, isn't it?
Yeah.
He has a hat with a flag on. How novel.
Yeah. Amazing.
Amazing. I think you could go literally anywhere in England to any rubbish like tat shop and find
Oh, it's back.
an England or British flag hat if you wanted.
I love it. It's incredibly patriotic. I mean, looking at the background as well, he's got the flag there. Topo Pablo is doing it for his country.
Yeah, he should probably turn on the central heating because it's looking a little bit chilly in there.
No!
What fun we have here.
And what fun you have listening to us.
Kappa Kipo. But Topo Pablo has found that card that you are often looking for. Oh my god, look at his mug as well. I don't think chat can even meme about that anymore with the updated policy around restrictions in chat. But Mana Worm is definitely what you're looking for in the aggro mage. You just want to get that damage rolling as quick as possible, obviously, in every single matchup. And Kirintor Mage is not a bad way to follow up with. If you can find something to do with his mana next turn, this is looking to be a pretty good game for Chile.
Yeah, the counterspell isn't looking that impactful, though. I mean, we're looking at a coin and an Earthshock in Spain's hand. But, hey, a 4-3 and something that your opponent has to play around is better than nothing.
And even just ping here is
That's
fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Just clear off your opponent's minion. You're up 1 in terms of card advantage. This is like classic Trumpessy value teachings days.
I do think, ideally, though, Topo Pablo will want to draw the other secret, the explosive runes, next turn to play instead of the counterspell. Or just Luna. Luna would be fine, too. You're just enjoying the mug, aren't you?
It's such a good mug. I really want one of those. And now Chile, I would imagine after Spain's very temperate response on this turn, probably just a hero power, will be quite happily slamming down. Kirintor Mage counterspell. Your opponent does still have the coin, so it's far from perfect. But man, just getting down that 4-3 body, I think that's probably the most important part of that by a long way.
And Topo Pablo seemingly is going to have the time to enjoy it. His nice little tempo lead coming along here. If he doesn't have anything better to do next turn, he has 2 copies of Arcane Intellect, so he can start digging through his deck. But now the Mana Worm will be able to make this little value trade, unless...
Yeah, he's actually considering not playing it because of the coin. I think that's the wrong decision. I think even with the coin, just disrupting your opponent's plays is good enough. You have plenty of refill with the Arcane Intellect, and you just want to start getting this damage through.
Against a deck full of all of these overload cards, that coin can be very impactful, even a little bit later on in the game. So even just burning that with a counterspell isn't the worst thing here. Again, he'd prefer it to be explosive runes, make no mistake. But for now, Spain can't be dealing with this board anyway.
Yeah, they're realizing if it is explosive runes or counterspell, going with the coin first is not a great way to go about it. So what would actually have happened if they gone coin Saronite and it had been an explosive runes? There would have been 1, 2, 3 left on the board.
Versus a much superior board.
Yeah, which would have then been very likely value traded by the Mana Worm. Then you follow up with Saronite Chain Gang on the following turn. I don't think it would have actually worked out that bad. Maybe going for the coin first would have been better. Because this way they're chunking a lot of damage. Obviously we can see Counterspell was the card, so that if they'd gone coin Saronite, they would not have been able to do it. But they would have been able to fit in the Earthshock there just for a little bit of damage reduction.
Worth noting as well, Chile are running 2 copies of Counterspell in this aggro mage, which isn't that common, but again, Riku97 will know that that's the case. So should have been expecting the chances of Counterspell to be pretty high, as, oh my goodness, it's going to be the classic Cosmic Anomaly into Shooting Star play, and Topo Pablo is going to just hope that there's no Volcano in Riku's hand, which currently there's not.
You can't call this play the classic when it's existed for like a month.
I'd say it's pretty classic by now.
Oh,
okay!
Here's the even more classic play, though, of top-decking Volcano on turn 5. That mug is looking oddly appropriate now for Chile. They do still have, however, a lot of damage in hand with both the Fireball and the Illuna, and that Frostbolt as well. If there is no weapon destruction now for Riku, or a heck of a lot of healing, he's just going to be dead.
Oh my goodness, they are some draws as well. Sorcerer's Apprentice and Primordial Glyph. Topa Pablo really is starting to build up the damage here. Over the next few turns, he's going to be doing a lot. And Spain is just playing Life Drink.
Yeah, seems like a decent play to me. You could consider going for the Chain Gang, but you want to get as much healing in as possible. There's a good chance you have to go Coin Hagatha next turn as well. So I do not mind this at all.
So do you think Stargazer Luna is completely useless now that Aluneth has been played?
No, it's very heavily worth considering, because even though you're drawing 3 cards a turn, getting more cards is really not that bad, I don't think.
Because he could go Sorcerer's Apprentice Luna, Primordial Glyph. Whatever card gets played from the Glyph, that would also draw a card.
I think his mana can probably be spent better this turn than going for a 3-mana 2/4.
Oh, hello, Pyroblast.
Probably on a Pyroblast on this turn. My good giddy aunt.
Now, the other options there were Luna's Pocket Galaxy and Primordial Glyph.
No.
but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Luna's... yeah, the Luna's Pocket Galaxy, maybe.
It's useless, isn't it, in this deck? I guess it's good for a Cosmic Anomaly, but...
Yeah. It's just really not worth considering when you can have a Pyroblast, which is such a devastatingly powerful card. Somewhat surprising for me to see the Luna come down instead of just launching damage towards the face, considering that you had a Pyroblast next turn. Obviously, if you did see Coin Hagatha or Healing Rain or another... or another Life Drinker, then that would be closed out of the possibility of going for Pyroblast. But even now, Coin Hagatha, it doesn't even clear off the board.
It doesn't clear the Luna, which means that Topa Pablo could go ahead and play Sorcerer's Apprentice and then start firing damage all over the place. Depending on what the next card is. I mean, if he starts drawing Cosmic Anomalies now, then he won't get that many cards through the Sorcerer's Apprentice, but...
Even if he does, drawing cards is not the important bit. Like,
no.
Stargazer Luna is just 2 damage to face, and then you go Apprentice, Missiles, Fireball, all that nonsense as well.
Probably a Cinderstorm at some point. I don't think we've seen one yet.
Yes.
Okay. Lightning Storm is a start. It's not looking like it does enough this turn, though.
Yeah, and if you go for it now, then you can't go for Hagatha next turn, so I would imagine we see Lightning Storm on the following turn. But you are then leaving up a Sorcerer's Apprentice, which means they can play another Sorcerer's Apprentice and just draw through Topa Pablo's entire deck. Actually, this isn't just... No, I don't think it's just lethal. I was looking at Fireball, Pyroblast, and that.
It could easily get there, Darek.
Yeah, I would not be all too surprised.
If Mana Worm gets played... Okay, sure. Sorcerer's Apprentice is drawing 2 cards. Then again, does he want to draw 1 off of the rightmost card while it's that cheap?
I don't think you want to play 3 cards for Mind Control Tech as well, because you're hoping to kill off these minions through spells rather than minions, I would imagine.
If he draws an Anomaly, this gets very close to lethal, if it's not lethal already. No, I guess he wouldn't have been able to play all of the cards, actually, if he drew Anomaly and had to play it.
Yeah, this does seem a little bit confused to me, because if we'd seen Arcane Intellect first and then it had been an Anomaly off the top...
Then Shooting Star's much better.
Yeah, then Shooting Star is an awful lot better.
Yeah, I don't really understand why he would start that turn with Shooting Star, then pause, then play Fireball. Like you said, confused, I think, is a good word. Still, Pyroblast present in the hand.
This whole turn feels like a little bit of a mess to me, to be perfectly honest. Like, not throwing down the Mana Worm, I understand, because you don't want to be playing into Mind Control Tech, but not playing the counter spell, I think I would have preferred that. Even just playing the Arcane Intellect.
At 12 health, though, Spain are just about safe. Are they dead?
Yeah.
Oh, with the Anomaly?
Fireball, Cinderstorm, Hero Power, I think
with this
will just close it out. And Chile, after a game that was pretty one-sided, to be honest, there was just a very, very lovely curve available to Topa Pablo. Riku, if he hadn't got the Volcano, would have been completely out of the game. Even then, however, just couldn't quite get enough removal to fight back, and Topo Pablo takes the win, clearly very excited to potentially be staying in the upper bracket to go up against Portugal later on, if he can win this next series.
And the next game isn't going to be that difficult for Chile, looking at the matchup we have coming up. It's going to be Aggro Mage again. There we go, as we see the little Chile sticker nice and close. It's going to be Aggro Mage again, this time obviously on Spain's side, versus Chile on the Zoo Warlock. And now this is, as we take a look, this is, I believe, one of the hardest matchups for the Aggro Mage.
I wouldn't say hardest, because Aggro Mage has some really bad matchups. If you're up against Odd Warrior, you can pretty much give up straight away. Odd Paladin is also a pretty miserable matchup. The Zoo, you can pull ahead in the early turns, like if you stick a Mana Worm on turn 1, or if you can go for an early Shooting Star, then you can maybe swing the board back in your way. And while it is called Heal Zoo, there's not that much heal in the Zoo deck. If you're getting into burst range, you're probably able to close them out. But I believe what you are alluding to here is the fact that Zoo will very likely lock down the board quicker than the Mage can, and then it doesn't matter how much burn you have, because you have to use it all on minions, which they will constantly refill due to the hero power, and then you're probably losing as the Mage. But I would argue it's probably not quite so bad as some of the other aggro matchups for Mage.
The problem is, apart from the potential of a Cosmic Anomaly into a Shooting Star, there really is no efficient way of getting that board back. Yeah, I guess Cinderstorms can do some work, but really, like, a Cosmic Anomaly double Shooting Star play is sort of the only way the Mage can get back onto the board after the Zoo has stolen the board away. And unfortunately, the Zoo, thanks to the cards like Voodoo Doctor, Happy Ghouls, etc., it's just very easy for the Zoo to get ahead. Before we get into the next game, though, I'm just going to remind everyone that you can be supporting your favorite teams right here, right now on Twitch by cheering for them. Buy some bits right above the Twitch player at the Get Bits button, and then cheer for your team. Choose a team, choose the amount of bits you'd like to cheer. You just saw rewards that you can earn by cheering that many bits. If you cheer 2,500, you unlock everything. And here is the current leaderboard. United States leading the way at 6.5 million bits. Netherlands in second, even though they've been eliminated from the Hearthstone Global Games with 1.3 million. And the really fun thing here is that a good chunk of the revenue goes to the players on the team.
Yeah, and if you are a particularly dank individual and you would like to get Chile off of the last spot there, perhaps you appreciated Topo Pablo's mug, send a couple of bits their way and try and get them a little bit up the leaderboard. We got to get someone contesting USA eventually, right?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I'm pretty excited though, Derek. I mean, I used all of my bits up yesterday. I've got 22 packs ready to open up.
Wow. Which
I haven't touched them yet. I've been saving them for a better moment. But yeah, it's very cool. Anyways, Zoo versus Aggro Mage. One more time. It's going to be tricky for the Mage, but definitely winnable.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way of putting it, because like we've seen against with the Aggro Mage against Odd Rogue or Zoo or whatever kind of aggro deck you want to talk about, their armor gain or their healing is limited. There's a little bit in the Zoo, but not much. So if the Mage can dominate the game, even just through turns 1 through 3, 1 through 4, before the likes of Fungalmancer and Chain Gang start to come down, if they can get them down to 20 health, 15 in the best reasonable scenario, they can just close out the game through burst, which is what the Mage will definitely be trying to move towards, as unlikely as it may be to work.
Well, it's time to find out. Here we go. And okay, that's a lot of cards that have a 1 mana cost in Topo Pablo's hand.
Yeah, one of them you definitely don't want in the Solarium. Flame Imp and Voidwalker are pretty good. We maybe see a toss on the second Voidwalker because you just want to be finding Keleseth as soon as possible.
Keleseth's Happy Ghouls.
Yeah.
These big explosive starts.
Maybe even a Soulfire wouldn't be that bad for if you start to fall behind on board. But I guess with a hand like this, where you are looking to definitely be ahead on board, given how good these minions are. Even then, Voidwalker is a big sink of health the Arcane Missiles and Cinderstorms will be pouring themselves into.
Yep, blocks Mana Worm for a couple of turns as well. Jacob's hand really not looking so hot. He doesn't have Mana Worm. Missiles, sort of a weak play, isn't it? Take a look at this Aggro Mage list for Spain. They're running 1 copy of Celestial Emissary. Okay. That's the sort of the flex spot for their deck.
Yep, sometimes Emissary, sometimes Mana Addict.
Yep, sometimes second counter spells, sometimes Flame Geyser.
Yeah.
There's a few of the cards that sometimes pop in as a one-off.
Haven't seen any Flame Geyser this week. I think there might have been
We haven't.
an old school. Oh no, sorry, Flame Geyser.
Or Mirror Image, if you're Lorinda.
Wondering as to whether or not they should coin out the Voidwalker here. They haven't seen a Mana Worm. They're expecting probably a 2-drop because one card was kept. Yeah, either way, I think the follow-up of double Voidwalker next turn and then coin Saronite Chain Gang looks like probably the best curve that Topo Pablo can be looking up. I like what they are doing thus far.
On the other side of things, though, Spain have something going for them. Jacob can play Apprentice, Glyph, Shooting Star, and Missiles all next turn, which is looking like the only way he can wrestle himself back onto the board.
Yeah, and I imagine that will be exactly what's happening. We could see Apprentice, Trade, Shooting Star, Missiles. Even with the Glyph thrown in there as well, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, depending on what the
Yeah,
Glyph
it's a big
gets,
turn.
if Jacob gets a secret, maybe an explosive rune or something that can be played for 0 mana in the same turn, that would be a big play onto the board.
If Chile do decide to trade away this Flame Imp, though, that plan is significantly weakened.
Yep.
And so therefore, I wonder if they think they're in such a good spot, they will just be trading away here to play around the possibility of Shooting Star, Missiles, all that stuff. I think this is actually a pretty good play from Chile, just taking it slow.
All right, new Shooting Star plan. Play it on turn 5 with Celestial Anomaly. Cosmic Anomaly, sorry. Actually, Celestial oh my goodness, words. Celestial Emissary must improve this matchup for the mage because they can make the play on turn 3.
With friends like these, who needs ML Yeah, I imagine it might help a little bit. Mana Addict is not an anti-aggro card. Mana Addict is an anti-control card.
Maybe Breath of Syndragosa is actually the pick here.
Yeah, you can go Breath of Syndragosa. If it hits the Flame Imp, you are very happy indeed. If it doesn't, you could then go
Missiles.
Shooting Star Missiles? Just Missiles? I guess probably just Missiles. Hope to get lucky.
Time runs out on me.
I wonder if he's considering the Arcane Intellect just
Yeah.
0 mana this turn.
If you don't take it, you are only going to be running very low on cards very quickly.
Okay, sacrificing Resources Apprentice. Well, unless he wants to play the Shooting Star here, but I think following this play, he's going to want to save that for the Cosmic Anomaly. He gets the second Apprentice and the second Glyph. That's not bad.
Fully expect to see coin Saronite Chain Gang on this turn for Chile. Great way to start locking down the board. It sets up for, hopefully in their case, a nice value trade plus Fungal Enchanter on the following turn, and then leading up eventually to a Doomguard to try and lock this bad boy out.
1 mana short to do what he wants to be doing.
Imagine if that Apprentice could have stuck.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, and maybe Breath of Syndragosa, if it was taken from the Glyph, would have led to that outcome.
It could have done. They would have had to have hit 3 perfect missiles, though, if it had missed the 50-50 to hit Flame Imp, because it would be a 2-health Flame Imp and a 1-health Voidwalker.
Yeah, but I mean, starting with the 50-50 and then having to get the sort of unlikely scenario, it's still...
It's not ridiculous.
It's an over 50-50 chance of getting there, then.
What to do? What to do?
Someday I'll be just like you.
Is he playing everything?
Nah,
No.
no. You just hold back here. You try and stall out before you can go for that Cosmic Anomaly.
It's setting up the counterspell is nice because it potentially protects the anomaly once it does get played. The only problem for Spain is going to be Chile going very wide here, which Topo Pablo can do with the doubling imp.
And so if Topo Pablo is worth his salt in terms of positioning, we'll see, I would imagine, doubling him thrown in the middle, because I think you'd rather have the 1-3 taunts than you would the 2-2s. Maybe.
I'm not actually as sure about that.
It's kind of close. If they play 2-3s, then you obviously want to have the 1-3s. If they play 3-2s, you want to have the 2-2s.
Both apprentices have been played. 1 Arcanologist has been played. I just think like I think having as many stats on the board is probably the best bet here.
Yeah, clearly is saying here he's happy with potentially losing all the taunts on this turn.
Also, yeah, I mean the other thing is here if so a normally Shooting Star gets played, it deals with both doubling Imps and Voidwalker. The minions remaining on the board can deal with the Cosmic Anomaly.
Yep.
Or do it this way around. Either way, Chile's minions can deal with the Cosmic Anomaly.
I guess no matter what your opinion is about what minions you want to stick on board, this was not the bad way to do it, because if you put the 2/2s next to the Chain Gang, that was the worst way to do it, because then it gives either option available for Spain, which both involve killing off the Chain Gang.
Yep. Agreed. Chile knows that this is a counterspell. They've tested for Explosive Rune already. Obviously, the Explosive Rune Cosmic Anomaly interaction is pretty funny, as it deals 8 damage instead of 6. But Tempo Pablo has run out of cards and isn't able to tap this turn, so maybe Jacob still has a brief chance to get himself back onto this board.
Yeah, if he can, and he can stick Stargazer Luna, then that is a pretty good way of doing so.
Okay. So Cosmic Anomaly, Glyph, Shooting Star. I mean, he'd play the Glyph first, obviously, to see what he gets. But if he can get Shooting Star, that's a board clear. If he can get Arcane Explosion, that's a board clear.
Yeah, that's a very specific instance, though. I think going for the missiles, fitting in the ping as well, is probably a little bit more likely to work out in his way. Because he can even go missiles first. If it all works, then he can go Primordial Glyph. If it doesn't work, he can go ping.
It worked.
Yay. Very nice indeed. Now Primordial Glyph, potentially with a Luna on the following turn to protect it, or with a Cosmic Anomaly if that's necessary.
Ooh. Given that Counterspell is already in play, second Counterspell is not going to do all that much. I believe the only spells in the deck are the Soulfires and the...
The only spells? I think Soulfires is it. And the Soul Infusion.
Soul Infusion, thank you.
Those are some pretty rough minions. What have been drawn by Topo Pablo? Absolutely not what he's looking for. And there with Luna into Frostbolt, I would have to imagine that's going to be a snap play from Topo Pablo. It has to be Soulfire from Chile, but even then, the counterspell is still in play. There's no more Doom Guards to charge into it. This Luna is going to pop off.
This Luna is going to just win Spain the game. Soulfire gets drawn.
They know that that is not going to work, though.
Okay, so if they tapped into the second Soulfire, then it would have been fine, because the first Soulfire wouldn't then discard the second one, and the second one would do the job. Now giving Jacob more card draw.
That's so good. If you draw something like a Luneth off the top, you can just quite happily play one of the Librarians and get through to a better card for Luna.
Oh, man.
Could we see Solarium into Soulfire here just to deal with Luna?
Yeah.
That is a way to get rid of it.
But then Chile aren't drawing any more cards. So what's the priority here? I mean, if they play Soulfire first and that gets counterspelled, there's a solid chance that they draw the second Soulfire from the Solarium, but it's a bit of a risk.
It's what, 1 in 16, 1 in 15, 1 in 14?
I think you're right. He needs to guarantee the clear on the Luneth, and he's going to do that.
That feels truly miserable for Topo Pablo. But what other choice does he have? And now Spain do not have the Luna, but they can quite happily take their consolation prize in the Kobold Librarians, clearly showing that the new inclusion of Shooting Star in this deck has just done absolute magic for this deck.
Cosmic Anomaly into Cinderstorm is looking great from where I'm sitting. It's just 7 damage off the bat, and the 4/3 is developed, ready to just win the game next turn.
Why not?
Because card draw, that's why not, apparently.
Yeah, I guess if you draw a secret, you're very happy here, because then you can go like Kirintor into Explosive Runes.
Yeah, neither Explosive Rune has been drawn yet.
Yeah, this is, I guess, a little bit more of a play around Saronite Chain Gang, because then you can Cinderstorm to deal with the Chain Gang instead of having to sacrifice off minions.
It does set up lethal next turn as well, which is the key, I guess.
Just gets more stats on the board. And I think this is pretty much just going to be it for Topo Pablo. There can be, what, 8, 9 Maybe there's not enough damage to close it out here quite yet.
I think he's just put enough stats on the board to survive Cinderstorm, unless Cinderstorm does go face an uncanny amount of times.
Everything just gets blown up here, though, by the 8 missiles from Cinderstorm. Can even fit in a ping as well.
So 4 of them need to go face for it to be lethal immediately.
Okay. Is that including the Mana Worm buff?
Yes.
Okay. And the ping?
Yes.
You're a genius.
Thank you.
I'm struggling to think of any reason to not go for the Cinderstorm this turn with the Anomaly. You just clear up the board, pretty much guarantee your victory because you've seen a Soulfire, you've seen 2 Doom Guards. There's no possibility for the counter-lethal to come through. And with that,
1 short. Okay.
1 damage off lethal
3 went face.
is
Almost
Jacob.
there.
Yeah, it would have to be a complete board clear and heal on this turn for Chile to have any chance at all to pull this back.
Without even being allowed to tap.
And after going 2-0 up to eventually falling down, equalizing to a 2-all score, Spain finally do it and will be going up against Portugal, their neighbours, to be seeing who can advance through to BlizzCon.
To BlizzCon indeed. So close now, our Team Spain. For Team Chile on the other side, though, they're going to be up against Brazil. Loser of that match will be eliminated. So long, long road ahead of them. But great news for Spain. Let's take a look one more time at that matchup that we just watched. It started many moons ago with this priest, with the cloning gallery priest versus Quest Rogue, and then we had the infamous odd warrior mirror, which really Jacob just walked all over Machine that game.
Yeah, went over the 1 hour mark in that game. We've seen a lot of the long ones today, but that was just pretty one-sided for Jacob. He really did, just all the extra fatigue, all the cards he could shuffle in to prevent fatigue was way too strong. And while Chile gave it a real good shot in the couple of other games, their Hunter looking very strong indeed. Their Aggro Mage against the Shudderwock was looking really powerful. Still, in the end, the Aggro Mage pulls it back for Spain in a game that I was not expecting to go their way.
All right, well, I've just received the great news that we will be having a chat one more time with our good friend, a.k.a. Wonder. So let's have a look. Hey, a.k.a. Wonder, congratulations on, again, another fantastic win. You're now 1 game away from going to BlizzCon. How is that?
It's incredible, to be honest. It's our dream to go to BlizzCon. Since last year, the Spanish team performed. We wanted to show everyone that we have really good players in Spain, and we are able to go to BlizzCon, and we are almost there.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty consistently impressed with your performance. Take us through a little bit that last game there. It was looking a little bit shaky at first, but what was your thinking? Were you all agreed on the game plan from the start? Because I was pretty heavily looking at the Breath of Sindragosa there.
Of course, that was our main like the decision there. I was actually thinking that Sindragosa was the best choice. Together with Riku and Jacobo and Delson, they wanted they were more experienced than us in the matchup, and they were thinking that if we don't run out of cards, then we can fight easily the board. So obviously we listened to the more experienced players with a particular deck, and we took the decision to go for that line, and it worked. But I'm still thinking about it, to be honest.
Well, it sounds like you got some great teamwork there anyway. Now, a.k.a. Wonder, I'm going to ask you to cast your mind all the way back to the start of this series. You played Quest Rogue against the cloning gallery priest deck. I'd like to hear your thoughts about that matchup. Like, going into that, did you think, oh, this is just going to be an easy game?
We practiced the matchup a lot because obviously we never faced that kind of priest before. And we realized that the way to win for the priest was to get the legendary spell. How is that called?
Xelix Cloning Gallery.
That's right.
That one, yeah. So the only way for the rogue to win is to get that spell and not draw Malygos or Belen. That was our thinking process. Like we came like to that point, but I'm still not sure. I think that if he plays a big minion, I can banish. I can go with my quest. Like I can complete it fast and win. So I was like, I don't see a way to lose that other than the turn 9. Obviously, when I played Mimic Pot into Shadow Step, I was totally sure that I was winning. So
All right, last question, aka Wonder. You're up against Portugal next. Winner of that match will be going to BlizzCon. Do you think you can do it?
I'm sure we can do it. I mean, we came here, we did our best on the Swiss phase. We're playing well. We're having a bit of lag, but not that much, to be honest. And we are playing really well. I don't know, man. I think we can win everyone right now, but I need to check deck list to see what they banning, what they playing, how they feeling with the decks. But yeah, obviously, right now I feel like we can win easily, right? So
that is great to hear. Good luck with your preparation for the next match. We will see you again a little bit later.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Derek, can I switch to Spain? Can I pick Spain as one of my caster picks, please?
We'll debate it. When your team has been eliminated, I mean, depending on whether my team win or lose, that will heavily influence my decision. But I would definitely have to agree with Akawanda there. I think Spain have just been playing really solidly throughout the global games. Nothing too flashy. Their decks have been pretty standard, but they've been just doing it very well indeed.
Let's take a look now. Back the game that we were just talking about, where Spain did make it look very easy. They had the quest completed and played by turn 6, and it was just too much damage for the Priest to even try and contest with.
Yeah, really wasn't even close this game. The Priest just did nothing throughout the entire game. I'm still maybe thinking that the play I was suggesting of Holy Smiting your own Gargoyle to get a coin with the Spellstone was the way to go. Still, I doubt that it would have led to a victory either way, as we can clearly see Spain taking a nice quick victory.
Next up, and wow, we're skipping straight to Fatigue. God, I wish we did that during the cast itself.
Yeah, wouldn't
That'd be
fun?
different, wouldn't it? Jokes aside, the Fatigue is sort of where this matchup gets at its most exciting, as we see packs being ripped open left, right, and center. But ultimately, Jacob didn't have the value in his deck to contest, or rather, did have the value in his deck to beat machines.
And here we saw a game that was... Delson was right on the jaws of defeat for like 4 turns in a row. Tempo was 1 or 2 turns off lethal. But in the end, there was just nothing that could be done because the Mossy Horror all the time was the constant threat that Spain knew could blow them out of the game. And in the end, it did exactly that.
Then there was this was a long series, wasn't it? There was the Shadowwalk Shaman versus the Aggro Mage. And Mage just did the Mage things, it got the damage, but this isn't the only game this series in which Mage did the Mage things, as we can see now with Jacob. You know, the Spanish players heeding the advice of Jacob and Riku, and it paying off there with the Arcane Intellect early from the Glyph, and then Cosmic Anomaly running riot and destroying everything.
And I really love to hear that from Akawanda, that he is willing to admit that he is not a perfect player. There are different ways that players on his team will specialize. And he realizes, okay, I'm a good player, I've got those results, but my teammates have played this deck more, I'll defer to them. I am not so proud that I will try and enforce my opinion and my will on players who I assume know better.
Yeah.
It shows a lot of humility and a lot of trust as well.
I mean, that's the mark of a good player and a good team player, I think, in anything. Something Zorkthar was saying to me yesterday about Hunter Race is that one of his best qualities is that he will actually ask advice from his teammates all of the time and listen to what they're saying. Even though we all consider him the best player in the world, he still listens to what everyone else has to say, and that's really great. Let's take a look, though, at the bracket for this group one last time to see what's going down. Portugal versus Spain up next, winner of which will be going to BlizzCon. Loser's match will be Brazil versus Chile. Loser of that one will be going home. Winner of that one will be playing the loser of Portugal versus Spain.
And I really would like to see all of these teams going through to BlizzCon if I could choose, because they're all just so passionate about it. You can see what it means to all of them. Yeah. Chile, Topo Pablo, so happy when he won that game. He's got his flags everywhere. We know as well, a lot of these teams on Twitter, and when we interview them, they're so passionate about their country, about Hearthstone, as it is with a lot of the non-native English-speaking countries. It's a little bit more closed off in the Latin American community and very, very passionate and close-knit.
Well, quite frankly, I'd like to see all 16 of the teams going to BlizzCon, but unfortunately, that's not quite how it works. Next up, we have the United Kingdom battling it out with Bulgaria. Winner of this series will be going to BlizzCon. I believe they'll be the first team to qualify, unless I missed one earlier today.
I believe they will be.
Which was a qualifier. All right, first team to qualify for BlizzCon coming up after this break.